Tell me when you're ready.
All right, whenever you
She's
are.
excited about local government, said no one ever.
No. Do you know who Leslie Knope is? Okay, that's my hero.
Wow.
She just was walked down to the other end of the hall. She has a list of all of the openings on all of our committees, boards and committees, and was shown how to apply.
Love it.
She asked this morning how to get involved in town government. And she
Wow.
was walked down the hall.
And you will be
Took Judith
asked
all of
why
3
there's
minutes.
mayonnaise on the ham sandwich I found in the park.
God.
Nice job, Judith. There you go. Judith is our #1 recruiter.
Yeah.
For municipal government. Okay, so Emma from Wareham Media, WCTV, Community Television. Thank you very much for covering this morning's meeting of the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. It's Thursday, April 10th. And I show that we have called the meeting to order at 9:08 a.m. Could we get a roll call, Ken?
Judy Whiteside, Sarah Corbett, Dan Butler, Derek Sullivan, Ken Buckland. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ken. I see we have multiple residents in the audience. Mr. Yakubowski, do you have any comments for the group today?
No, nothing particular,
Nothing
just
today?
listening.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Thanks for your interest in the Wareham Redevelopment Authority and our business. Next item, this one, discussion of possible vote on sale of 4 Recovery Road property. I'd like to defer that to our next meeting. I spoke with Mr. Titlebaum, and what I would like to do is, I sent you all copies of the letters that are relevant to this topic. So if you have a chance to read those between now and our next meeting, I think we'll be prepared to discuss it, and we'll probably have to go into an executive session.
Okay, so the executive session won't be today then?
It will not be
Just
today.
for purposes of planning, thank you.
Next item on the agenda, presentation on downtown dollars. We've had several presentations, starting with the one about a year ago. Yes, ma'am.
Why are we skipping the first item, update on the WRA internship program, followed by discussion and possible vote?
What are you looking at?
The agenda for Thursday, April 10.
I don't have that on there.
Oh, you know what I have here?
Do
This
a
is the
different one?
This is the one that the clerk actually posted.
Do you have this one, Sarah?
That's a different one.
Different one. Here, I thought I was so organized.
Yep, sorry about that.
Do you want it?
Well, let's just leave it between us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna skip that. We'll get to that. That's also on this agenda.
I think I did actually get that. Yep,
You did.
I got the right one.
Got that one, okay.
Very late, but I got it. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, beginning about a year ago, Ken brought up the idea of downtown dollars, brought it to our attention that many towns and cities around the US have adopted a program like this to keep money in the community and to help promote local businesses, help communities thrive. And we've batted it around quite a bit, but then we really dug into it a lot when Connor Alden did more research, found a service provider that can make this potentially very easy to implement in town. And I think at our last meeting, Judith, you wanted a little more work done, a little more homework, and I know you've done that, Connor. You prepared to give us a little bit more detail on that and help us work through maybe a proposal to try to get that launched?
Yeah, definitely.
If it's a good
so
idea.
I would just say that I sent you all an email prior to the meeting, just giving you a quick kind of refresher on YIFTI, Downtown Dollars program and everything. And I would just say that the rep from YIFTI, who our would-be representative would be, she's going to be joining at 10. So we can talk through everything, and then if you have any questions that you...
Valentina?
Yeah, Valentina.
Why don't we hold off then?
Sure, however you guys want to approach it.
Are we gonna have enough to fill up until 10?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna be a lot more busy.
We're counting on you. All right, we'll circle back then to that, Connor, as we get closer to 10 o'clock. Next item, discussion of possible vote on the WRA internship program extension and expansion. That's another one that we've talked about now several meetings, and we wanted to come to closure on this. I'll introduce this topic. back over a year ago now, maybe what, about 18 months ago, Ken, we thought it might be a good idea if the WRA sponsored an internship program and made the investment in human capital that would be focused on redevelopment authority matters. And at the time, Ken was busy as he always is, and we thought maybe we could help find a good, capable intern that could help Ken focus on projects that are of interest to us in the redevelopment authority, and at the same time, give that individual, whoever it was we might select or people we might select, the benefit of learning from Ken, taking advantage of his many years, decades of experience as a town planner and experience in economic development, all the things that matter to us as a redevelopment authority. And I personally feel a great deal of pride in this program because I think it's been a good success. We've had 2 interns now. The first one, Jared Fredrickson, I think did a great job. I think he learned a lot. Judith didn't waste any time throwing a net over him to try to get him involved in town government. I
No,
think,
it was Sarah, wasn't
was
it
it
you?
Sarah that recruited him to
Yes.
the
Yeah,
library?
Yeah, she was the,
Yeah,
she
He's
was,
on the board of library trustees
yeah,
now.
she was the recruiter on that one.
Sarah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Sarah
He's
knows
also on
talent
the
when
bylaw
she sees
review
it.
committee.
Pardon?
He's also was on the bylaw review committee.
Okay, so there's a great example of what we were trying to accomplish, I think, with our internship program. We wanted to find ideally young people in the community who could benefit from exposure to municipal government, how exciting it can be, how impactful it can be. And not only did we find a great intern in Jared who helped us, but now he's helping us with the library and it seems like now also he's also helped us with the bylaw committee. We got Connor Alden, thanks to Ken's good work, basically beating the bushes, putting the word out, doing some good guerrilla marketing around Wareham, and taking advantage of the hot July temperatures when Connor would prefer to be indoors as opposed to outdoors laying concrete foundations. And so we got a great second intern in Connor, and I think I can speak for the group. Connor's had a huge impact, and Connor, I personally appreciate what you've done
Thank you.
in your time as an intern here with the Redevelopment Authority. So right now, we're batting 2 for 2. When we originally set up this program, we authorized Ken up to $20,000 to launch the program and start recruiting interns, which he did. I think it's time to look back on what we've done, evaluate whether it was a success. I'll betray my thinking on that. I think it was a success. And then authorize an extension of the program and an expansion of the program. So I'll throw the idea out there on the table for discussion. Anybody else want to comment on the current program and where we might go in the future?
Oh, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So I did watch the meeting that I missed and saw the discussion, and I think some very good points were made, both pro and con. Really good points on both sides of this issue. And I've also read the information provided on your plan to expand it and under what circumstances and the selection and interview process. And I am wholly in favor of continuing it and expanding it. I think there's not only potential for us to get more volunteers to serve on boards, which is really important. You don't realize until you get really involved in the volunteer world of Wareham that how many people are helping to run this town for free. There's a lot of good people helping to run this town for pay, but it takes both sides of that coin. But I would like to see sort of a funnel program into workers in this town of people who can then move on and become, say, someone that could help Josh, should the day ever arrive, as it may already have, that he becomes the town planner or not. But he may need help because if he's no longer in the role he's in, he may need help in that role or someone helping that role that is eventually fulfilled. So there's probably a billion other places in this building that a young person who is very interested in serving the town through the town government could be used. And I just think there's all kinds of potential that this program could help this town.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Mr. Buckland?
The only thing that I have been pondering about was the idea of a resident of, it has to be a resident of town to proceed. Because it was pretty tough finding the interns that we found eventually.
Mhm.
It was, we've had many years of attempted internships and been unsuccessful on it. And just the last two have been very successful, which has been lucky for us. But we open ourselves up to more opportunities with people if we don't have it as a resident of town.
Mhm.
That's a good point.
That is good.
Very
point.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is-
there were
is that
actually
part of-
some smart people in
Yeah,
Marion.
that's what I was wondering.
Is that part of it?
I don't know. We have a question.
I wasn't
Yes, ma'am.
aware that it was restricted to residents of the town.
Ken might be making reference to this little cheat sheet I drafted up, kind of a Chinese menu to help us understand what we would be buying if we were to award stipends.
Any Wareham resident of good character and demonstrated good work ethic. Now, to serve on a volunteer board, you do have to be a resident of the town.
It's a bylaw requirement.
Okay. But not to work for the town, right? Okay.
So Ken makes a good point.
Mhm.
If our goal is to throw the net widely and bring in for consideration as many potentially highly qualified people as possible, are we limiting ourselves by limiting it to just Wareham residents?
I think we are.
You know, on one hand, if you want people that can come into the town and serve on boards, it would help if they're Wareham residents, but if they're gonna become an employee, they don't need to be a Wareham resident, so.
Mhm.
Your point's well taken, Ken. Would you advocate then that we remove that qualifier, that it be necessarily a Wareham resident?
That's what I'm offering, yeah,
Okay.
that we do that, so that we can spread this out to a broader group of people.
Okay.
So can,
Ms.
My-
Whiteside?
my question would be, what is I get the purpose, but let me use town employees as an example. And I won't be specific about any department, but from time to time, we hire young people in our departments. And they get the training and they go someplace else.
Mhm.
And I don't want that to be what happens here, because we have invested time and money in an employee and in some cases bought their uniforms, and so I'm worried about that might happen. On the other hand, the benefits that the program might bring to the town might outweigh that. But that brings me back to, what are the benefits that we honestly would be getting from this program?
So I think you can never completely avoid the fact that someone that comes to work here and learns here goes somewhere else for whatever reason.
Right.
But there may be a way to build that into whatever their hiring agreement is, that you have to stick around for X amount of time. I mean, we could do something like that.
Yeah, but then you've trapped people, and I think that's a bad feeling too, don't
Yeah,
you?
that might discourage applicants
Yeah,
or
I
too many
know.
strings
But I mean, I
attached.
think there is something like that already in place in this town for employees, where you don't wanna buy somebody a uniform and have them quit the next day and take that uniform home with them. You have, they may become eligible for a reimbursement or something like
Right,
that.
yeah, yeah.
After it's a
After a
probationary
period of time, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
a
okay.
probationary period is not unusual.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, you've been uncharacteristically contemplative over there. Any thoughts?
Nothing intelligent.
Are you saying you haven't had enough coffee, which may go to an item later in this agenda about the time of this meeting?
Yeah.
I want to distill down then what I just heard. Ken made a great point. If we limit, if on one hand we want to throw the net wide, and yet we qualify by saying Wareham residents, then, the potential applicant who might live in Marion or Acushnet or Buzzards Bay on the wrong side of the line, we're kind of not allowing ourselves to take a good look at that person. So I think I would agree with Ken that that qualifier is unnecessary. We can do vetting of applicants, and if we see a great Wareham resident and a great resident of Boston,
Yeah.
we may want to favor making the stipend award to the Wareham resident, but at least we have the choice. So I think I agree with Ken on this one, that we ought to just stick to what we are trying to do, which is expand our ability to look at candidates and
I think
not
maybe
limit it.
we should ask our current intern what
Oh.
his thoughts are on this as well.
It's a great point. Connor, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I do. So I have 3 points that I wanted to mention. So the first would be if we did expand it to people beyond the town, I guess how we approach it from a logistical standpoint would change. So right now, what I had showed everyone last time we talked about this was that I had already built out a web page where we could capture applications, and I think that if we wanted to market that and capture all the applications in one place, then I think it's a lot simpler if it were to be restricted to Wareham residents, because I think when you start to try to capture applicants from a wider range, then we would need to also use something like Indeed, which not super complicated. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that it's not as streamlined if we're opening up to people outside of town. But I agree, personally, that we should open that up. Just wanted to let everyone know that we'd probably need to use Indeed or something like that. The second would be the structure of the internship program. I think in our conversations or email correspondence, Dan, I had mentioned this, that not just with this internship, but with past internships that I've done, and I've done, I guess, 4 or 5 between my bachelor and master's. I would say that the internship programs where I got the most out of them in terms of experience, learning, and everything were the ones that were paid. But obviously, but also the ones that had a lot of structure to them. So I would say that if we did choose to renew the internship program, that we're not just approving use of funds, that we're also kind of taking a step back and putting an internship program together. Because I think that it worked well for Jared and I, probably because we were able to field that responsibility and be kind of that point and shoot person that you guys had referenced before. And now I think, especially if we're going to talk about hiring someone that's fresh out of high school, then I think that the internship program would need a little bit more structure. And we can talk about what that looks like later. And the resident comment, if we restructured the job description, then I would say that you could explicitly state that people from Wareham would be given preference.
That's it. That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
That's what I was gonna say too, yeah.
And yeah, that's all that I wanted to mention.
Okay,
Yeah, good
that's a
point, but I
great-
think it is.
You
I
seem-
really would like to jump on the structure thing, because I think that's a very important point. And it comes back to what I originally asked, what is the purpose of, what is it that we hope to get out of this, other than giving somebody experience? Because giving somebody experience shouldn't be
our sole goal.
the goal. And I am looking at this piece of paper, and I would not hire somebody without a college degree. It simply is, and because it was unstructured, because you do have a degree, the maturity, even if it's just in age, but the maturity that somebody who has been through the college experience or equivalent, because it could be equivalent in terms of work experience, brings to the table, helps provide that structure. Because there really isn't somebody who's going to be watching this person on a day-to-day basis. But and you know this, I've been very reluctant to involve high school students or somebody without further, I will call it life experience, whether it's work experience or college experience.
I disagree.
We don't want to be, we're not the training ground. We are doing this to get something for the town, not as a gift to the person. That's my point.
Well, and I must respectfully disagree.
Mhm.
I think if we do, and again, we have to be extremely selective, and I do think there's a potential for some hands-on leadership and guidance if in the restructuring of perhaps Connor's role and the program itself. And I know the kind of kids that are at DECAS, that I keep calling it that DECA. I will forever do that now. Anyways, because my kids came through DECA, or at least my oldest did. And as you heard yesterday when you and Karen and Sam and I met, my stepkids went through DECA. And someday I want to get my stepson back here because he's a multimillionaire. And he learned a lot in DECA, enough that he was able to start a business right out of high school and pay his way through Babson. That's a lot of money. And I just think if we are extremely selective, we can give the DECA students a value in terms of their resume to get them into whatever college or further internship program they want. And they will give us value in terms of their youth, energy, and creativity. And we have a resident comment back there.
Yeah, so Colonel Stanton, who's also at the high school, I think definitely is a good candidate to discuss who a good student leader is, because not only does he do JROTC, but he helps decide which students go to leadership conferences, and he does the civics class at the CP level, and he teaches AP government. So I think that through him, you're gonna get kids who are probably not only like interested in, but want to get their hands in on direct government because he teaches those classes. So he can also be a good resource to pick out those students for you.
That's awesome, thanks, yep.
Or if he's teaching AP, then he's already working with kids that are operating at higher than a high school level, in theory.
Oh, the JROTC program is, I mean, what those kids produce is phenomenal.
Simon went through that program, and when my youngest son, Simon, he didn't do DECA, but he did do JRTC because Marines are born, not made, and he literally wanted to be Marine when he was like 3 days old. And so he went through JRTC, he went to Mass Maritime, and because of eyesight issues and injury he had at the high school when he was powerlifting without supervision with his friends and hurt his neck, he couldn't get into the Marines as an officer, even though he had an official degree, so he just went in as a boot. And he's a Marine to this day because you can never be an ex-Marine. But he's not in the Marines anymore. But anyways, it's a good program.
So he would have gone in when the program was brand new?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Because,
Um,
and it was great when it first came in. Then I think there was a little bit of a, and Colonel Stanton, I mean, he was nominated for Teacher of the Year.
Yeah.
And missed it by about that much.
Yeah.
But he should have
As
been.
somebody who had him in the past, and like he helped foster that sense of love for government and civics within me. So
Yeah.
I know I'm definitely not the only one.
Yeah. So, and Lisa,
These are the reasons some of those kids graduate. I know that for a fact.
and Lisa
When
Cunha
Yeah.
is a DECA
Yeah.
person.
How about this end of the table? We're getting some great discussion on reacting to Connor's observations. Ken, anything else?
No,
So
Mr.
who's
Sullivan?
working with them? Members of the WRI? Or is this going to the staff? Because you're taking away from the staff doing other duties
Right.
if you're having them running an internship program.
Yeah, I think, Josh, I understand you're gonna have a role here in town government at some point. You're gonna be
I
direct-
I do, yeah.
Let me ask you, you've seen interns in action
Mm-hmm.
up close. You've seen that they required some mentorship from our esteemed colleague, Mr. Buckland. What do you think? What if you were offered an intern? Would you say, no way, send that intern down the hall to somebody else, or would you wanna give it a go?
Oh, no, I
Worth the
think there's
investment?
definitely, I would have, the desire for, some type of educational, teaching someone something new, something that could definitely benefit the town. I would agree, I think we've seen two great interns go through the WRA, And I don't think there's any reason that we should hesitate to try to bring in some more, because I think there's more value out there. Hearing the discussion, the disagreement here, I wonder if you change the application process to maybe someone who has a background in the DECA program. Maybe that helps you capture a little more if you're uneasy about just a high school student, maybe a high school student with a background in the DECA program. Maybe that's where you could make a compromise.
Or JROTC.
Or
we talked about.
JROTC. You know, then you're just kind of limiting that area where I think there's a little disagreement.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question. We have union considerations here. If you're going to be, if the staff is going to be involved, then that becomes a union consideration.
Yeah, and I think you've already handled that by saying that Ken is working under the union and he's overseeing an intern currently. Has that problem already not been resolved?
Is that a problem, Derek, or can employees offer to mentor interns? Is that something that
I didn't bring it up.
they
as an issue.
restricted? Okay, so there are no restrictions that would prevent,
Somebody can grieve anything, you can grieve a ham sandwich,
okay?
honestly, you know, so it hasn't been an issue.
So I guess if the question was, would I grieve at the opportunity to do this, my answer would be no.
But you can't answer the general question, which is, you are actually adding, and, I mean, you didn't ask the question, Derek, but you said, well, who's gonna be doing the training, something like that. This becomes a time constraint, a requirement of time to train somebody. You can't just throw somebody into a project, whatever the project is, without some oversight. And Ken, for the past 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever it's been since your retirement, you know,
This was his retirement job.
I just am very leery of requiring additional constraints on time of our current town employees, because there is not one department in this town that is not understaffed. And to require staff to train somebody who's not staff is, to me, an unreasonable ask.
But I think at this table, we have just discussed some ways to insurmount. Like, it's not an insurmountable object, like it's not like we're gonna shoot a whole bunch of high schoolers at this building and ask them to go for it. It's a
But what are
free-for-all.
we gonna be
But I
asking them
think-
to do?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I think we can, have you read the selection process and the description? It's pretty, I can't find it right now, it's extremely detailed, and we've already talked about some specific funnels of young people that can come to us
Well, I
ready
read
to be
this.
go. There's more to it than that, it was passed out at the last meeting.
Stuff that was passed out by Connor
Yeah.
at the last.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there's one question I have, in terms of if we are restructuring the whole program, why cannot we have Connor Alden be the mentor of these high schoolers? And he's the trainer.
The Grand Poobah of interns?
Yes.
So you were gonna be paying two.
Potentially, I think is worth a discussion.
Yeah, I think
I
when we
don't,
set
I
it
don't think
up,
we need to assume failure at the outset.
yeah, when we set it up, we left it open to 1, 2, 3, 5.
Right, we had a
Mhm.
pool of money.
Right.
Right.
And we left that up to Ken basically to figure out how did he want to run it. And we gave him a lot of discretion, which I feel confident in his judgment, and that's one reason I felt we could do that very comfortably. I have a lot of confidence in Josh. I've grown to have a lot of confidence in Connor. I guess if the argument were interns suck time away from town employees, my reaction to that might be, well, being a former military guy, we used to talk about force multipliers. The more soldiers you had, the better. It might take a little training to get them ready so that they could do their job in the foxholes, but once they were ready, the more you had, the better. And you had troops that you could send out to do this, work on this project, work on that project. I know Ken spent some time helping Connor get spun up, had to get him up on the computers and get him a password and things like that. But I saw a pretty quick spin up time. I got to watch a little bit, and I think we were lucky. We chose well when we decided to bring Connor on board. He's a fire and forget missile. Ken tells him what to go do, and then he does that and 10 other things. That's the kind of person we would want to try to recruit into the program, obviously.
If we get that lucky, yeah.
Right, and I don't think we should rely on luck. We've been lucky twice. I think Connor was correct when he offered to us at the last meeting a suggestion that we impose a little more structure on the program. I think I just heard some great ideas here today. If we throw the net wide, more than just Wareham residents, more than just graduate students or college grads, we consider veterans, we consider high school kids, we consider kids that are working, learning from Colonel Stanton at the high school or Lisa Cunha at the high school. Really any student that would want to apply, in my view. Then we ought to take a look at everybody in the net. And we ought to maybe create a little committee to vet those people. So Connor can manage the funnel, income of people via the online application portal that he's already built. 10 applications roll in, and then we ask a committee that we would appoint. I would appoint Connor, I'd appoint Colonel Stanton, if he would be willing to do it. He's probably pretty busy, but if you were willing to do it, and Lisa Cunha were willing to do it, Josh may want to be on that committee. I would want to be,
I want to be.
and you would want to be. So there's 5 people right there that could look over the
Are
applicants.
we an internship authority?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this in a mean way.
Mhm.
What happens with a lot of boards and committees is they have a success in something and then want to keep on pushing that. I'm just trying to figure out, the mission of the Wareham Redevelopment Authority is to redevelop the town. So what we need to just take the step back is a successful program. How does the successful program do for the mission
Right.
of the Wareham Redevelopment?
I
So
think-
I don't want to get into,
I think
you
that's a
know,
good,
Josh or anything like that.
no, that's a good question.
This redevelopment authority cannot foist anything onto any town stuff.
Mhm.
It can't. We can say, hey, we've got a good idea for a project. The leader of the planning department can say yay, nay.
Right.
We just have to understand our roles and abilities. So it's okay to be rah-rah and be happy about something. You know, I just want to kind of put it back into its structure. This is to help to help the planning department. And the person helping the planning department should be getting experience.
Right.
But it should be helping that department if that department so chooses to accept the help.
Right, I think that's pretty much all we've talked about in those
Yeah.
those
So-
terms. Like, I don't think this is beyond that mission that you just described.
Right.
I see, you know, poor Connor, we're gonna keep making an example here. He is helping the redevelopment efforts for this town. That's our mission. I wanna see Wareham, as I was unfortunately quoted in the newspaper, it's awesome now, I wanna make it awesomer. And that to me is part of the redevelopment's authority's mission, is to make it a better place to do business and live, et cetera. And I don't see anything that Connor's done that hasn't been aimed at that. And I don't see anything that we're talking about in terms of expanding the internship program, the WRA internship program, is doing anything but that.
Right, the WRA can only handle WRA matters.
That's all we
Oh, yeah.
want to handle.
So there is some mission creep that I'm hearing.
Maybe you're hearing it, but I'm not feeling it. We're not gonna force anyone to have these interns.
No,
Yeah.
but I just need everybody to know the scope
Right.
of what we, the WRA, can do.
And should
We can do anything. I mean, we can build a Ferris wheel downtown.
What should we
if
do
you
though?
want,
You're right.
but, You know, so I'm just trying to figure out if the internship program is gonna be our main focus.
I don't believe it is our main focus.
Okay, so that's why I just wanna make sure, because we were talking about building it, hiring people to then manage the internship program. But so are we now bringing them, where is that going for? And is it the WRA running the internship program? Is it through the planning department? How are we just, it's, and again, I'm not to be the skunk in the room, though that's my job sometimes, that's so what I'm just trying to figure out is, it has worked well. Connor, other folks. So just wanna make sure we know, or it's not just to celebrate the internship program, it's to have something achievable result for this community to continue to make this community awesomer.
Yeah, I know.
So if I could.
Awesome monger.
God, that was a very bad pun.
If I could, you've characterized yourself as the skunk in the room, but I thought.
Why are you
I'd
looking
like
at
to-
Judy when you?
I brought it up. I think, I
But I
agree,
like that.
I
But-
agree with the concept of creep. And but again, this young man came up with there was a task that he tackled and produced a product or improved a product, substantially improved a product. That brought benefit to the availability, the marketability, the visibility, I guess is the right word, of the town. That's our job. So Connor used the word structure and I used the word structure. I think it needs to be more task driven. Improving the town is great. What does that mean? Structure, you had a specific set of goals
Yeah.
that you beat your way through and came up with a product. But what's the next, other than getting rid of the Facebook page, please? I honestly believe in the structure of stuff.
Yeah, I think one word that Derek floated out there was outcomes, and I think that it sounds like maybe we need to go back,
Mhm.
come together with the internship program structure proposal that has proposed projects that the intern could be working on. Ken and I can talk about potential projects that they could take on. And then I guess depending, maybe we can continue the conversation and talk about the tiering and see what the WRA would be open to taking on, because then I think that guides the structure of the entire program if we know how much they could take on. But we could come back with a proposal for the program, projects, desired outcomes, things like that, and we can talk about that again. Change the structure if we need to.
How about if,
I think that's,
go ahead. Yes,
I
sir.
think that's great because I'm on the future managers for the
Mhm.
Mass Municipal Managers Association. And one of the things we talk about too is when they do a internship program is you don't want somebody coming in and making copies.
Or
You
coffee.
you
Right,
don't
right.
want somebody coming in making copies.
Absolutely.
You kind of need to have some
Exactly.
shovel-ready projects for them when they're
Which is
coming in.
basically what I was saying.
Yeah,
kind of.
so because it should be something, like I said, the town should be getting something out of it, but you also want that person, and whether they come back or they go out and fly from the from the nest, I'm okay with either of it. I've always said when people poach from our town employees, it's a compliment. It stinks, we've put a lot of effort into them, but it means that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, Josh, you can't leave.
Let me see if, this has been a great discussion. Let me see if I can distill it down to.
And I'm trying to get us to 10 a.m.
I was just looking at the clock. I think for the future, we should always start at 10 anyhow.
Well, that's on the agenda.
Yes,
but
I know.
I think I'd like to distill this down to a decision, because I think one of the things we fail to do sometimes is make decisions when we like to push things off,
Mhm.
kick the can down the road.
Further study.
Meeting
worst
after meeting
thing
after
in
meeting,
town
and then
meeting.
we don't get anything done.
Mhm.
And then we wonder why nothing gets done. So I think we know plenty. We, all five of us who vote here on the WRA, we know what our mission is. We know what needs to be done, or what we should be trying to do. We know mission creep is always something to be cautious about, and I agree with that. I'm the first one to say, no, that's not something the redevelopment authority ought to be doing. We have projects that could help realize things that are in the urban renewal plan, for example, that we just not have, we haven't done it. We haven't done a thing. The town doesn't have the bandwidth to do it. You don't have extra people to throw at some of these projects. And we know that. It's painfully obvious. I think I heard you say, I'll use the word professionalized, Derek. Again, you say the skunk in the room, but really that was perfume to my nose. Because I agree with that. I think we ought to professionalize as much as possible what we do. Just because we're a small town doesn't mean we can't be professional. Just because we're a small authority with a very limited mission doesn't mean we can't be professional about what we do. So I was very pleased that Ken and Connor brought forward that suggestion that, hey, we've been kind of flying by the seat of our pants with this internship program, and we got lucky twice. Can we make our own luck for a change and actually start to professionalize this, structure it, get the word out, bring in applicants, vet them, assign them to specific projects? We may find somebody that has a spectacular talent in one thing and we go, wow, that's something we need to accomplish this WRA objective. I'd like to do that, and I'd like to make it happen. I'd rather not push it off. I'd like to give Ken the authority to use WRA money to continue the program and expand it potentially. I put together this Chinese menu, I call it, of ideas for what it would look like potentially, what we'd be buying. So if you go to column A or column B on the Chinese menu, you'll see that if we were to offer a stipend to somebody with no college degree, to get to your concerns, Judy, because you said you want to get your money's worth. You said that at the last meeting.
Mhm.
So if we're going to get our money's worth, then we're going to maybe bring in one of Colonel Stanton's junior ROTC people that are spectacular. And the whole group here, he says, wow, we got to get that person on board as an intern. $20 an hour is not a bad deal. I think
think
we
you
as
need
a
a
town
motion, Mr. Chair.
would benefit.
So before we
I
make
think you need a
the,
motion, it's 10 of.
But I'm making the point that I think we ought to make a decision today to extend and expand it. And then
Mr. Chairman,
I think
I'm
we ought
sorry
to make sure that we bring some applicants in, and by our next meeting, I don't know why by our next meeting, we can't have applicants that we might consider.
Because I don't think we have the structure or the, I come back to what Connor's, I think it's actually a concern of Connor's. What's the next step? We built the shell of, or the shell, not the structure, because there's really no structure, there's no goal. We have the concept of an internship. But I think Connor's ideas of bringing more focus to it, more structure to it, then we go forward after we get that on the table, because I
So-
honestly don't think we're there yet.
and I'm going to lose the thoughts, which is why
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I've been sort of interrupting. It's that my thoughts are fleeting, as you know. I'm kind of thinking, yes to everything we've done, but should we have 3 projects? It could be 5 projects, should we narrow it down or have something, 3 projects that could be achievable within the framework of the internship program as we've proposed?
Well, I think that was
That's a good-
already discussed. That was already
So-
proposed.
So
That's
shouldn't
reasonable.
we have those projects
Right.
and then go out?
I disagree with sequentially doing things. Here's why. If you do things in parallel, you get things done a lot faster. There's no reason not to put the word out that we're looking for applicants and to start looking at applicants.
Things done faster can mean faster failure.
Yeah, I know from my time in the Defense Department, if you did things sequentially, they took decades. If you did them in parallel, you could do amazing things very quickly and you could accomplish things fast. And we need to accomplish something. We got the summer coming up. So if we're going after high school kids, college kids,
Yeah, and our next meeting is not
they're
till
available in
when?
the summer. If we give up the opportunity to take advantage of them now, we may not get an intern. We ran into that the first year, I remember. We reached out to colleges and they said, kind of late to be talking to us about an internship program.
Mhm.
So I think we'd be making a hideous mistake if we wait. I think we ought to get the word out right now that we're accepting applications. And then we ought to start evaluating them. And we ought to be ready in 2 weeks to begin selecting interns.
So is there anyone here,
With
just no
projects in mind.
kidding, completely
Well, that's what I'm saying.
not in
sorry for-
favor of continuing the internship program? I mean, I don't know why we can't take a vote that we do want to continue it, and the form of it TBD, but we have a discussion and possible vote on WR internship program extension and expansion. We're all against that, or are some of us for it? I don't understand what the issue here is against taking a vote.
Good point, good point. Do I have a motion?
You have that motion, sir. Do I have a
So I'm
second?
hearing a motion on the floor to authorize with WRA funding an extension and an expansion of the WRA internship program.
Do we have a second?
As proposed in the document, is that what we're, What's the
That's an
expansion?
exemplar of what we would be prepared to,
I think
Allocate.
extension's fine.
Right.
But sorry, what is the expansion?
We're gonna come back at our next meeting and get the details.
Then let's just leave it to
Let's
extension.
extend it.
Yeah,
I
let's
think
just-
we all
We
agree,
approve
extend it,
extending
keep
it.
it going.
We can vote on that? Can we vote on that?
If you
Wait.
change your motion to end at extension, I would be willing to go along with it. The
And
way
if
you
that
stated
means
it,
Connor-
it's not.
part,
If that means Connor and somebody else, no problem. I just don't know what expansion
Right, I don't know what
means.
it means either.
Okay, so just extension. We can say, I move that we extend the WRA internship program.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Ken Buck on a second. Any further discussion on this aspect of the issue? Extending the WRA internship program. All in favor, say aye.
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 I think it's unanimous.
Aye, 5, okay, it's unanimous, 500. Okay. Now, can I get a motion to expand the program in the sense that extending it is one thing, but we have to, I think, to your question, have some sense of what the upper limit is. When we set this up the first time, we gave Ken $20,000 of WRA money to spend like a drunken sailor on interns left and right, and he spent it very responsibly. I would advocate expanding the program and providing Ken that authorization to expend up to $20,000 of WRA money to extend this program.
So the
Expand.
timeframe on that would be July
Until he runs out of
1st.
money, until he runs out of money.
Okay,
Do you wanna make that motion, Judy?
So I'm just saying, that's a potential,
Derek doesn't like the expansion part.
no, it's not, I'm just trying to figure out, and we gave him the 20,000. Does so that could be potentially 10 non-college degrees, 4 college degrees plus 2 years of honor, you know, I'm just trying. Well, no, that's honestly, that's what it
And that's-
could be.
yeah, that's what it could be.
Sure.
And I'm doing the parade of horribles here.
Right, right.
You know, I'm just trying to figure out, and I think Ken is responsible. He still is, I'm looking at him, he's, you know. I'm just trying to figure out, cause I'm okay, and if that's with having Connor moving into a lead intern, perfect. No problem with that whatsoever, because that's assisting the whole way. I'm just trying to figure out what we're saying,
So
because
again-
I don't think we should then shove 10 folks on there.
I think
so.
that'd be imprudent.
So you're not going to do that, Ken, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So as an example,
Yeah.
going to our menu, you
Yes.
walk into the restaurant with $20, you can buy a Connor for $6,000,
Yeah,
and you got $14,000 left.
we've got a couple
That
poo-poo
was 10.
platters here, stuff like
That was
that,
10.
so. it's-
I think we should make a motion vote and be done with this part of the discussion, sir.
So
what, can I
hear
just
a
ask
motion?
quickly, how much money do you have left, Ken, for the internship program?
Another 5,000
From the original
From the
allocation,
original 20
from the original 20.
that we started with Jared?
Yes.
So this will give you up to 25.
What?
Do we want to make that the motion?
No.
No?
In 2 years, we spent 15.
So
Right.
how much? I don't understand the finances because I wasn't here in the beginning, but this is all our money that we currently have. It's not a grant that Ken,
Those are our
Oh.
No,
money.
it's not a grant.
It's our
It's our
money.
money.
But I wanna, okay, so what's the balance in the account?
Ken says about, oh, the big account.
Yeah, the account.
Ken, do you have that off the top of your head there?
In total sources, we have $1,411.
In cash?
That's probably cash, that's
$1,411?
without the allocations against it.
Yeah, just,
That's right.
That's
Okay,
what?
that's cash.
yeah, I don't
Not,
know that. I
that's
want-
cash in the bank, not with the earmark, lessened by the earmarks that we've already allocated.
Yeah, so we need to know the,
But Judy, there's,
yeah, okay,
I would
so
say,
But they
I
would
would say
I
with-
would go for the 20.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna go for expanding until I know what I'm expanding, cause I still don't have a sense.
I don't think you need to expand. I think give him $20,000 for the internship
Yeah,
program.
I agree.
keep doing what he's doing, only
This is, but I agree, this is a great format. I don't think we've ever said no or anything. The only reason I'm saying expansion is I don't think we've ever put a limit on it.
That's a good point.
So I'll make a motion to reauthorize an additional $20,000 for the
In the
intern program.
internship program.
Judith
Period.
Whiteside made a motion to reauthorize up to $20,000 to continue
Yes.
the program. Do I
I
hear a
second.
second?
I second.
Okay, Sarah Corbett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and it is unanimous, okay.
Because we're, at the end of the day, if I'm hearing you, Ken's still bringing the applicants here, so if he brings in Vladimir Putin, we're all going to,
Run
might not be
screaming for the hills.
unanimous or anything, but, there's still the opportunity for the group to,
Oh, yeah, ultimately, I think we,
Yeah.
just like Ken came and said, I have this guy Connor, would you
Yeah.
guys be interested in bringing him on board as an intern? We said, sure. So, yeah, whoever Ken feels is a good catch, I'm confident that I'll probably vote in favor of bringing that intern on board.
And I
or
just have one more
interns.
random thought. Have you guys advertised on LinkedIn?
No.
You should. When I was gainfully unemployed for the first time in 30 years, 2.5 years ago, all of the jobs I applied for, I got through LinkedIn. Because indeed, I was, getting jobs, let's just say I was not well suited for. And also there's a state job hire type of website,
Municipal Association.
the MMA has
MMA.
MMA, but
it costs
also.
a couple $100, so it's not too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, and also though, every morning I get a master, MASS caps to list,
Yeah.
and it's state.
It is a terribly named organization, the Master List.
Okay,
The term master is not good nowadays, but
Yes.
it's MASS as in Massachusetts.
yeah,
That's it.
and it's a
And it
list
gets-
of
right.
state news and the governor and the
Not a
Senate.
good name, but.
But then there's municipality listings, and I don't know if an internship program would qualify, but I see that every morning and I look at it just pretending, oh, I could be the communications coordinator for
Yeah.
Senator Markey,
That was
whatever.
the old State House News
Yes.
stuff,
Yep.
so that's
Well, yeah,
right.
for one word of caution, having done a little hiring in my time, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah,
Because if
exactly.
you advertise too widely and you get
Mhm.
35,000 applicants,
Exactly, that's right.
how do you say no to applicant number 34,999?
Oh, I will
Well, we
tell
bring
you, in
Doreen in, she's great at saying. no.
Exactly. In my job search, I would applied and never heard anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's the
Yeah.
etiquette nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the etiquette, it's interesting, it works both ways. We have folks that we've scheduled, we confirm for the appointment, they just never
Don't show up.
show up.
Yeah.
But 12 years ago, we'd have 34 people show up and the person you hired literally cried. They were so ecstatic, so. times
Again,
have changed.
I'd be
We have our
cautious
person
and,
online, maybe, I don't know.
yeah, we'll
we
get
have
to
a
that in just a second.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be cautious, again, we talked about preference being to Wareham residents. I'd like to try to get this out first to Wareham, the audience in this area here.
But I
So we have a Discover Wareham website,
really
We have a
want to
town
have a
website.
task.
we
I
have
wanna have,
We got him next week, next
have Wareham
meeting.
Week.
They're
Yeah,
gonna
okay,
come.
good,
Yeah, Wareham
okay.
Week,
So I would give,
Sipican Week.
I think we should trust Ken and Connor to figure out how to get the word out,
Mhm.
start getting applicants in.
but what are they applying for?
Pardon?
But what are they applying for?
They're planning for the internship
Stipends.
program, Judy, I understand what you're saying. It would be, and sometimes it could be more attractive having the actual projects, you can
Right.
talk, they're great. but they're going to come back with that.
Yep.
With
They
what-
being
Connor
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 and Ken.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
We have a
So-
person, man, what a perfect project.
Yeah,
Here's who we want to bring on
and
board.
that's why I think an à la carte, not necessarily a Chinese menu, as you say, but
Which
a
may or
bit
may
of
not
a,
be
you know,
okay these days. I'm not even sure what it is.
So, to,
One from column A, one from column
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
B.
so, and have that maybe matching up skills or interests to it, so.
Okay, then I think, thank you very much. This has been a great discussion. I think we've learned a lot during the course of the last year and a half with our internship program. Ken, thanks for shepherding it out of the cradle to the point where it is today. Connor, I think you have marching orders, you know what to do. Let's get some applicants and let's start looking at who we might bring on board for the summer. So we can get some things done.
How much longer do we have?
We said we would circle back.
To presentation?
Okay.
Yeah, we can move on to EFD.
Yeah, let's go back to downtown dollars and is it Valentina? Is that her case?
Valentina, yeah. Valentina, and the other one is Maggie was who I already spoke to. I'm not sure
I see
who.
Tyson and Valentina up there.
Yeah, it looks like we have two people. So Valentina would be our representative.
Connor, I'll let you take over the discussion with
Maybe Tyson
introductions.
knows as well.
Hi everyone, how's it going?
Tough.
Can you turn that up, Emma?
Hear me all right?
Emma, for the harder hearing, could you turn the volume up just a little bit?
I don't know.
Is that Valentina?
Yes.
Hello, Valentina. Welcome and thank
there
you
you
for
go.
joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you all for having us.
I see Tyson.
Awesome, yes. So
You're on mute,
pretty
Tyson.
much here, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'm a customer success manager here at YIFT. I'm kind of replacing Maggie. I'm also Boston based. I know Maggie was as well. We both went to BU together. And I'm currently live in the South End, so I'm kind of nearby. And we're also joined here by Tyson. He is an account executive here at YIFT. We kind of work in tandem to set up new communities and kind of help them successfully launch. So I'll kind of let Tyson take it over from here. He'll kind of walk you through a demo and then we can kind of open it up for questions.
Thanks for the help there, Val. Was everybody kind of got a good walkthrough with the program? Are we looking for a more in-depth demo here or just kind of some general questions about what this looks like?
So I already gave the group here a rundown basically of what YIFT is. So I think everyone at the table right now has an understanding of the program, what it is, what it does, and if they don't, speak now.
Yeah, Tyson, we can probably give you and Valentina some context. Maybe Connor's already given this to you. I'm Dan Butler. I'm the chair of the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. When this was first presented to us, generally speaking, as an abstract notion, we didn't know who YIFT was. But Connor, doing some research, settled on YIFT as a success story in terms of being a service provider for making this type of an idea relatively easy to implement and get stood up, particularly in a small community like ours, and achieving our goal. Our goal as a redevelopment authority is we want to revitalize our town, make our local merchants more prosperous. We want to keep dollars in the downtown, keep money here in our community. And we may have a perfect opportunity to launch a program like this with your help. We have an oyster festival coming up next month in May, the end of May. And one of the things we've contemplated is using that as an opportunity to get these Wareham dollars or downtown dollars out, YIFT dollars out to 50, 100, maybe more people who would then go around and use their downtown dollars at merchants that are signed up and participating in the program. So that's kind of our understanding in general terms as to what the value proposition is here. And Connor has convinced me anyways that this is very doable. I'm not as technically savvy as he is, so I guess that's where I got a little nervous when he was explaining how to stand it up, and we might have questions along those lines.
Sure. So as far as what this looks like to kind of roll out in your community, we make this process super, super easy. So on the merchant end, the only thing they have to do to be a part of this closed network of merchants who can redeem the cards, the whole point is here to make sure the funds on the program are staying local to your own businesses, right? So the only thing a business has to do is run a 10-cent transaction on a gift card we send them. Once they accept that free 10 cents, they're now part of that closed network. And whenever recipients have the cards, they can then redeem them at those businesses indefinitely until they close their business or something like that, right? Now, what's kind of cool is we do see a lot of use cases with the program for events specifically. We've done a lot of work with like the Ironman, X Games, different like local events and festivals, things like that as well. Now, when you're talking about getting these cards in the hands of the attendees for this event, are you just going to be sending it out in like a giveaway? Are you looking to host like a promotion where if somebody buys a $100 gift card, they could get a $100 bonus card or something like that? What was kind of your thinking there?
I don't, and this is what, I looked at the merchant list.
Yeah.
We proposed this for downtown,
Right.
and this has gone, is that because we don't have enough merchants in town? So this was, the downtown dollars are supposed to be revitalization to help the businesses in downtown.
I would say our first,
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to bracket our target, our first target ought to be Wareham Village. That's where we need it the most,
All
but
right,
it may not be the type of program, once we stand it up, that we want to limit to just that part of Wareham. We have Onset Village, which could benefit tremendously from the program. I think
I think off-season.
merchants might be very interested in being part of it.
That's an off-season one for them. There, I mean, there's, because the feedback we get from onset folk, you know, was like, even the fireworks, good God, some of the businesses, thankfully, they're not doing it because we actually lost business when they brought, you know, all the people flooded the area. That was like the Salernos and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to figure out what we're doing here for this sort of level. And I think it's originally, everything I've ever heard has been Main Street, because that's been the focus of the WRA, and that's what we voted for, is Main Street. That's our spot. That is really Onset. Absolutely, we're doing a lot for Onset, you know, from you know, several million into the parks and such. So, which is you know, obviously drawing visitors, helping the merchants. We have less of that ability there for our Main Street area, which is our most dilapidated, which has probably been hit hardest by the expansion in West Wareham and things such as that. So that's what I'm just trying to figure out. And from my perspective, I see this is something like, these would be good for working with large employers like Toby Hospital, trying to get these to their staff and such, so that they're
That's a good idea,
walking,
yeah.
you know, so that's what I'm just trying to
Mhm.
put on there, so.
Yeah, could I just make one comment? So in my conversations with Yifty, they said, and Tyson or Valentina, feel free to hop in, that they ideally have at least 8 businesses at launch. And I think, yes, we can focus that on Wareham Village, but we might be hard pressed to get 8 businesses to join for something like this.
So is this not where we should launch?
Well,
I think
maybe
it can be
SM.
launched for Wareham more broadly, but as far as boots on the ground, we can definitely prioritize Wareham Village if that's what the authority feels needs more effort.
I mean, there are, excuse me, there are businesses in Onset open year round. There's 2 gift shops that open. Every Friday I have breakfast at the Peer Review, and there's 2 gift shops right on Onset Ave that I'm sure would appreciate off-season people knowing about them and
Yeah,
shopping
Maggie
there.
and I went down there and did some Christmas shopping, so.
And we have some brand new businesses
Yeah,
in places like Onset that are just starting in the last month.
Krabby
That
Coffee.
could desperately use foot traffic probably, and client awareness
Yeah.
of what they offer, so
So
I
to
don't know.
Connor's point, if we need to expand beyond Main Street to get that critical mass of 8 participants, you know, that may be a way to do it.
Yeah.
But focus first on Main Street, yes.
Yeah.
But then if we need to expand it a little bit, because yes, we're spending, you know, millions of dollars on Onset in terms of infrastructure, et cetera.
Right.
But businesses might be able to get some help.
And then one other thing, I've been emailing with the director of the Sandwich Chamber of Commerce, who also uses Yifty. And just the comment that she had was that businesses were actually, even though the setup process is minutes on their end, they were pretty hesitant to take on Yifty as a program. But she said that once a few businesses got on board, that there was definitely more of a snowball effect, where once businesses joined and other businesses heard about people using the downtown dollars, I think they just call them Discover Sandwich dollars or something like that. That the snowball effect was more so what she saw than kind of organic outreach or something like that. That word of mouth kind of carried it, and the match kind of got thrown on the fire.
I didn't see Verilife on the list.
Fair. I don't think that's legal.
And I was wondering the same thing about liquor stores,
Yeah,
because we do have
I
liquor
think so.
stores on Main Street.
Exactly the same concern I
Yeah.
have.
Valentina Tyson, if our ambition was to try to launch this in conjunction with this festival we're having in town on May 24th, is that unrealistic to think that we could do it that soon?
I wouldn't think so. No, not at all. Actually, with downtown Lincoln, they launched in just a week. So within 5 to 6 days, they had over 85 businesses participating in the program. Granted, it's a lot of larger community than yours. But if you're just looking for around 8 to 10 at launch, if you're having a hard time getting them to actually take that action step to onboard via the email outreach we've been doing to go ahead and prompt that response, you could also just, visit themselves as a business and then help them run that activation card in their store. And again, it's just
Tyson.
as simple as running a 10
Hey,
cent
Tyson.
transaction. Simple.
I need to have you speak more slowly.
Okay.
I need to have you speak more slowly because I'm old.
Right, I have old ears too.
And I'm just losing about a third of what you're saying only because thank you.
And Emma.
No problem, sorry.
Yeah.
It is a
It's
bad
not
habit.
volume,
It's not
the
the volume,
volume.
it's just, it's the
For me, it's
pattern of
volume,
speech.
too.
I don't have the remote.
You know,
Yeah.
Okay, I used to be able
Okay.
to understand the chipmunks, I can't anymore.
no, I know, it's like.
It's my old ears,
Sorry.
not
couldn't-
you.
You couldn't
Sorry, Tyson,
understand
speak up for
German.
people like me too that can't hear.
Sure.
Oh, that's even better.
No, I do not think it's
Oh.
unrealistic by any means. You could absolutely launch within the next, month, 2 months, with plenty of time to spare. We've had multiple communities be able to launch in just a week itself. So just for logistical reasons of what this looks like on our end, whenever we get our signed agreement back in return to actually go ahead and set up your account, I'll then be able to set it up in a minute or two. It's super simple. We'll then custom brand the sales page for you and the card image. Once we get the confirmation that everything looks good, you can then go ahead and start onboarding your local businesses. And being that we're looking at a lower number of around, 8 to 10, I don't see any problem getting them onboarded really in, the next 2 or 3 weeks. I would say we have plenty of time.
You have at least one business that isn't open yet, but is opening on May 24th. So I'll give you that name,
Okay, yeah, I mean,
the Barcade.
Another question,
Oh,
Tyson,
whatever the-
if we were to launch using Yifty as our service provider, what do you need from us?
We would just need a list of all of your prospective participating businesses. And we'll send you a spreadsheet of all the information we need. It's very basic stuff, just their address, phone number, their website, name, that kind of stuff. And we'll also need our service agreement signed and completed and then sent back to us. And then we'll be able to go ahead and set up your portal and start onboarding those businesses. It's a pretty turnkey process, to be frank.
Okay, and so you need somebody at our end that's your point of contact that you can rely on, will answer the phone when you need to talk to somebody.
Oh, no.
That's correct.
Intern.
And then when Connor gave me a little succinct summary of what would be required, I took that to a local merchant and said, what do you think of this program? And I explained it the way Connor explained it to me, showed him the little sheet I had. It sounded to both of us as we were talking this through that it would be very helpful if somebody besides Dan Butler was there to train his staff on how to actually get this up and running on their point of sale equipment that they had. Is that something that is key to the success of the program, having somebody that goes around and trains the merchants or their staffs and how to get this up and running on their end?
Sometimes yes. It depends on your community. So, for example, logistically, these cards are essentially just custom branded closed loop MasterCard credit cards. So, if the merchants are aware of how to process MasterCard credit cards, whether it's manual entry if somebody has a physical voucher, or it's the tap to pay functionality, which we're rolling out on May 1st, they're able to accept these cards. So, Typically, we'll give them a little note card for troubleshooting as well if they find that helpful. But it's just really on the business owners to help communicate that to their staff, especially if it's like restaurants or places with high turnover of staff and such.
Okay.
Did that answer your question? Okay.
Yes, sir, it did. And again, if we envision trying to launch this in conjunction with our Oyster Festival, where we expect to get thousands of visitors, we're gonna have a table there, a little tent. Can we sell these right there at that little table, that tent in the park? Because we're gonna do this in a park in town.
So they are digital cards. You can go ahead and sell them in person if you have like a laptop and a printer or something nearby. Or of course, you could sell them in person and send it to the recipient's email. What I would say is a bit more enticing that we've seen for situations like this where you're looking to launch during a festival. You could actually just have posters with QR codes on them. All the attendees can then scan it, go directly to your guided sales page, and purchase the card right off of the page online.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
That way it takes the administrative overhead off of you guys. It's more consumer focused.
I like
They get
that
to
one.
go through the steps themselves and then redeem the cards right there while they're at the festival.
So, and then there's a limit of 100, and once they're sold, it's
I think
stopped.
that was just a proposal, like a theoretical proposal. So these run in perpetuity. So once we start the program, we wouldn't. This I think was a promo proposal. So the first 100 cards, we could run a promo that the purchaser gets them at a 20% discount.
Yeah, so that was my way of trying to basically focus and limit what our exposure, we the WRA, what our exposure would be if we want to be responsible for underwriting this and launching it. So if we're gonna underwrite it so that there's an incentive for people to buy these downtown dollars and then go spend them at a local restaurant, a 20% discount in my mind seemed reasonable. Something
If I could
worth.
interject, it's not a discount. So how it would operate is it would be a bonus. So for example, you could fund, let's say, for simplicity's sake, $100,000 worth of matching funds. Now, if a consumer, say myself for an example, buys a $100 gift card, I would then get a $50 bonus card or whatever you'd like to match it, coming from that fund that your authority's putting up. And whenever that fund is completely expended, it'll completely shut off the promotion. So you guys are liable for absolutely nothing. People could then go purchase cards and they wouldn't get a bonus. So there's nothing on your end there. But what's nice about it is of those bonus funds, you can add an expiration date. After that expiration date, if there are any funds left remaining on those bonus cards that have not been redeemed at your local businesses, you can have a rebate of up to 75% of those unused funds.
Do the rebate again?
The rebate is up to 75% of any of the unused funds on the card after an expiration date that you set.
And the,
Comes back to the authority?
yeah, where does it?
Okay, comes
Okay.
back to the authority.
Okay.
Yep. So it would go back into your account, and then if you'd like, you can use it for future promotions or gifting, or you can just request a check back and we'll reimburse you.
Tyson, how does Yiffity get paid out of all this?
So whenever somebody purchases a gift card from the sales page, there's $1 plus 5% e-delivery fee. Now, if it's an organization like you mentioned, the hospital, we actually waive that fee completely. So we like to incentivize the engagement of larger organizations in supporting the small businesses in town. And so that's the main area. To be frank, we do make a lot of our money at scale. So we make the cost and barriers there really low. So there's no obligated financial amount on your guys' end to put forth to launch this program. Of course, with the promotions with BOGOs, it's always a good way to incentivize residents to engage, at launch. But that's really where we see most of it is kind of that math of our 700 programs around the country, about 20,000 businesses participating in the program.
So the hospital no longer has a cafeteria. I think I told you that before.
Right.
And that, other than eating out of a vending machine, this is an opportunity for grab and go lunches kind of business that might want to spring up in town.
Like our new Brazilian kitchen that's, I hope, opening soon in the old Mama Mary's, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking more of even like a Chipotle or someplace where you can go and get actually good food as opposed to, and I'm not saying the Brazilian wouldn't be, but not a McDonald's, not a something like that, but where they can go and get a nutritious lunch, a quick,
Right, but
In and out,
along the
yeah.
same lines of Mission Creek, but we're focusing on Main Street first.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
then Chipotle is a national,
Yeah, no,
with
right, but,
many problems, but I love them.
okay,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, it might encourage businesses to establish themselves in some of the open and vacant real estate buildings downtown, because they could see a niche for creating a sandwich program. You
Got
see what
it.
I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I don't know.
And I would just say with the promos, so the WRA could, and this is my understanding, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Yifty people. But if the WRA agrees to sponsor the first 100 cards, then the sponsorship is over, the promotional period is over. We just have the 1-to-1. For the Yifty cards, people are buying, they're paying $1 plus 5% to buy their whatever $100 Yifty card. And let's say there's another big event, then another sponsor can step up and run their own promotional program through the same structure.
To sell Discover Wareham dollars.
Yeah.
It's
kind of on
just, if I'm hearing it, if I've got somebody spending $100 for these cards, they're getting, in our instance, they're getting an $80 value, but it's really an $85 value because they're paying 105%.
No, it's the other way.
So who's paying the 5%?
$1
The
plus 5%.
purchaser of the card, so.
That's what I'm saying. So if we're giving them, if we're saying we're discounting it, but we have to factor in the cost of purchasing the
To the
card.
purchaser, yeah, so they're not really getting a 20% discount.
Correct.
It's-
Yeah, but that's where the underwriting, the first 100 cars, that comes out of the WRA pocket.
We would have to underwrite 25% to give. them
Right, that's what I'm
80%.
saying.
So if we wanna make it as attractive to 100 people that come to our booth and buy these cards to go
Right.
around town, you're right, we'd have to factor that in and be
Right.
prepared to eat that.
Right, I think we should be eating if we're putting it out there. I would be pissed off, for lack of a better term. If you told me it was 80% and I had to pay it's like somebody giving you a Visa gift card and then you have to pay $15 to register it or something like that.
Those are great puns, by the way, boys. Eat it, eating it.
Does it have to be a card?
That's how this program works, yes.
They don't have an app available? I keep hearing
They do
100
have an app.
cards,
What's
and I also hear 1,000 people at a festival.
It's like a card on one of these things, like your
Like
wallet.
a tap to pay. So I think that they have,
Is it a plastic card, or can it be
No.
an app on your
It's
phone?
an app on your phone too. I think they were saying more digitally than physically.
yeah, so you can have the
Correct.
printed out piece of paper with your code. You can show them a picture where the person punches it in on their credit card thing. Or you can have the e-ticket on your phone that you just tap.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a physical.
They're online.
There it
banking
is.
here.
They couldn't do a physical
It's an
card
app.
if they wanted to.
So that's
So it'd be like-
Yeah,
It's like a
like my
MasterCard.
Apple Wallet, my CVS card right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's a card.
Exactly.
but it's
Okay,
on my
so
phone.
my question is, you're saying we're gonna commit to 100. And you have the Oyster Festival, and it opens at 9, and at 9:15, you've sold 100. Can anybody pull the trigger on another 100 or another 500, or this is a success? Or are we locked into,
It would depend on how we
I'm
decide.
just throwing it out there for
That's a good
consideration.
Well, the people would still be able to buy the cards at the festival, they just would have missed out on
So you
that
could sell
promo.
1,000 cards even though you've only sponsored 100.
Exactly.
Okay, that was my question.
Titus, is there a way to set up short-term merchants? Like at the Oyster Festival, I assume there are merchants that come in with, goods they've made. Can you set up a short-term merchant so that people can use the Yiffity card at just a stand that's been set up?
Yeah, absolutely. Provided they can, of course, redeem MasterCard credit cards, the same as any other merchant. You would onboard them the same as you would anybody who's based in your guys' community. And then after the festival ends, you can simply just delete them off of the back end and they'll no longer be able to be redeeming the cards, and they won't be listed on the list and map of participating businesses.
Are there labels in the back end that you could add and remove? So for example, we're having this festival and we would anticipate maybe 200 vendors for that day, but then there would only be 8 to 10 of these static businesses. So is there any way to label those in the back end so that I could batch remove them?
Can somebody
You
spell
could.
Yifty for me?
It's on your,
YIFTEE.
You can batch them like that. If you would like, you could also just send over the list of vendors who you'd like to be removed on the back end over to me or Valentina, and we'll go ahead and take care of that for you as well.
Perfect.
Instead of deleting them, can you just deactivate them? Cause I imagine if we're holding multiple events in town, these merchants might come back. So
Yeah.
instead of, creating, deleting, is there a way to just deactivate?
We could, I believe, yeah, we would just need the list of all the businesses and I'll have our engineers do it on the back end for you. But that way they're still in the portal, and then whenever we're hosting the other, festival next year, something like that, you can just give us a shout and we'll go ahead and manually activate those businesses once more.
because I'm showing my age and I have to take my glasses off to look at my cell phone now, it's like, I heard we sponsor these 100 cards, right, let's say, and 100's not static, you're being very cheap, man. That's the first time I've
Stand
ever
up and
called
wait, yeah.
anybody.
I can't believe you said it. Say it again.
So, let's say we did the 100 cards, but we could sell more. What's the incentive for anybody to buy these after we've stopped our subsidy?
I think, sounds like it evaporates.
Maybe Mr. Tyson could answer that question, and/or Mr. Connor. Go ahead, whoever wants to answer this question.
I could dive in if you'd like. So you guys mentioned the hospital possibly wanting to do something with the cards as well. That's largely where we see a lot of engagement with the program. So the normal $1 plus 5% fee, we actually waive completely if it's an organization looking to purchase these cards. And so they would essentially get all of their cards at cost. They could send it to their employees for, lunches, for holiday gifts, things of that nature.
Okay, so there's no, but like our festival going, there's no incentive for that. I understand what you're saying with the hospital, I appreciate that. Like I could buy it for my town employees and give them out, it's not happening, guys. But,
Another use case that they used was realty offices like to buy them and then give them to people when they buy a house or something in town.
yeah, some of the communities I've
Good
been
idea.
in, when you go in there, there's some sort of local organization that you get a welcome basket to the town essentially, so.
That used to be done in every city and town in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
The welcome wagon.
Yeah.
I think what I'm starting to hear is it seems to be resonating with us, Valentina, Tyson, that this could be a good thing for us to dip our toe in and try. And I'm glad Mr. Sullivan brought up the hospital. I completely forgot about that, but that is a captive audience. If we could lure them out of the hospital at lunchtime to go to some of the downtown restaurants, that could be fabulous for those small businesses.
And we have a Jack Conway office on Main Street. That's a Main Street business, and
You could just sell them out of there.
my husband used to work for them. He's retired now, but yeah, that's a great idea, and they should be part of the WBA too. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good ideas in here.
And I think what we're getting to now is getting down to the more nitty gritty. I think ever since Mr. Sullivan heard Mr. Buckland say he had $1 million, now he wants to start spending it.
He doesn't have $1 million. He backed that one right up fast.
But I do think if we want to do this, it's going to take an organization like the Redevelopment Authority to put money in, get some money up front, underwrite it, prime the pump. So the question then just becomes scale. How ambitious do we want to try to get? Do we want to jump on this opportunity with the festival, with the hospital? Is 100 enough? 100 cards enough that we would sponsor? Is 20% enough? I think that's what we have to start talking about. Because I've been impressed with what you have presented to us, Valentina and Tyson. I think I was sold when I saw on one of your presentations that if we sell a $50 Discover Wareham dollars card to somebody, they're on average gonna spend 30% more than that when they take it into a local restaurant. They're gonna spend $70 or $80. So that looked like a huge win to me in terms of what we're hoping to accomplish. So I guess now the question just becomes, well, first of all, do we still need
Right, that was
Valentina or
good.
Tyson? Anybody have any more technical questions for Tyson or Valentina that we need to tie them up?
I have a question.
Mr. Yakobach?
I buy a card for $50 and I give it to one of my kids.
Give me 40. I'll
Give it to one of my kids and say, here, go spend some money downtown Wareham. Can they spend it anywhere, or does the card tell them where they can spend it? How do you
I
know,
think just participating businesses.
well, how do you know who's participating?
It'll be connected through, I'm assuming the app showing
Yeah.
who's a connected
And
business.
they will build out basically a
So
independent-
you get this digital card,
yes.
it's got a face value, and then there's a list of, you can go to Woolon, you can go to Mariachi.
Well, I
You
think
can
El
go to the
Mariachis
hospital
would
and
have to
get
have a
your leg
poster in the
broke
window.
set.
that-
Right,
El Mariachis would have to say, accepting Discover Wareham dollars here.
or a sticker or something on the door.
Yeah. And Tyson mentioned that if we want to provide some physical manifestation of what people are buying, then we could have a little piece of cardboard that says Wareham, Discover Wareham dollars, has a QR code. And so somebody could have that, they could say right on there, here are the participating merchants. We're gonna have to sign up at least 8 or 10 and do it
Yeah.
fast.
My question is, if you're trying to draw people into Wareham Village, and I give it to somebody that lives in Marion, there's gotta be an incentive to drive to Wareham Village, they need to know where they're going, they have to have a destination.
Right.
They just don't wanna come down Wareham and stroll up and down the street and look for a sign in the window that says you can use your card here.
Well, just tell them you're going to the Narrows District, not Wareham, and they'll gladly come.
The Narrows District?
Yep, that's, rename it the Narrows District, it's perfect.
Well, I think the website would be a great place to have the list of participating businesses.
Yeah, I
Or
think
that-
along
and
with
that
the
is possible.
website that we have
Just-
now, they'll also
just a
build out
question,
an
how does it
independent
work?
website.
Wait, there was an answer to a question. Let's Connor and perhaps Tyson answer your question, sir. So what is the answer to this question? It's a good one. It's a
Yeah.
good
Do
question.
you guys have, or could you share a screen with an example of what one of these websites look like?
Yeah, just give me 1 second here. I'm out of Ohio, so I'll pull up the Queen City program in Cincinnati. But the format and layout is just the same for you guys as well.
Perfect.
You know what a Queen City is? It's the
That's it.
most populous city in a state that is not the capital.
Oh, I
Not the
didn't
king,
know
it's the
that.
queen.
You can see a list of all the businesses. I can click into them. And on your phone, it's the same. You can tap into each pin to see each business. You can
Oh.
also scroll on the right to see the list of all of them and their here as well.
So Connor, could we somehow use Discover Wareham's website to click to?
Yeah, so in the conversation that I had with Maggie, and maybe you guys could also put a little more light on this, is that she said that we might be able to embed this website or webpage into our existing website. Is that something that is still potentially
You might be able
possible?
to drive business to your website through that card?
You could if it's like a wireframe. So if you have like the ability to add a wireframe to your website, then you could essentially move the sales page and put it in a section in your website as well.
Yeah.
What we've also seen, for example, Park City Mountain Kind Card, they have a list on their website of all the participating businesses as well. So you can also go on the regular, YIFT sales page, but you can also go here and see all of the list of their participating businesses that they've built out themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question. I'm sorry, what community is this?
This is Park City, Utah.
That's what look at that. It's an interesting mountain kind. That's how they have designated their populace. That's really interesting. Go ahead. Sorry, I was just
Can you
curious.
show us Sandwich,
Yeah,
Mass?
yeah.
Yeah, let's see here.
Sandwich, good idea.
Yeah, let's see something.
I think if you search Discover Sandwich, it might show up.
Let's see.
Discover Sandwich, Chamber of Commerce, something.
This here. So this is how they present it on their website.
Oh, I don't think that's it.
No, it doesn't look like it's it either. Let's see.
Free gift card.
I'm not seeing here. If you'd like, we can send it over to you guys afterwards and you can look over. Let's take that out. That might be it here.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta change up their copy there for a second, but here's like the card you'll see as well. You can also hop over whenever they have their businesses all onboarded or activated on the system. They may have them on the back end right now. They can go ahead and have them all, agreeing to be a part of the program. They've imported their information to the portal. So now we're just waiting for those businesses to activate their activation card onto their system. but they've also mentioned the 30% overspend here as well. And something else that's kind of cool is we typically see 51% of cardholders are going to try new businesses they've never been to before. So it's kind of cool in talking with your merchants. You can let them know it's kind of creating a cross collaboration among sharing customer bases with businesses around the community.
You know where this would be great to get involved is our seasonal rentals. And because my wife and I, when we used to have a seasonal rental out in the Cape, we used to do a little gift basket when they came in, bottle of wine, some fruit and stuff. But these are the type of things where if you can get sort of those Airbnb style rentals, the gift card to expend in there at a reduced rate, it's a pretty good thing. It gets people, from wherever they're renting into the town's
Because
businesses.
they're from out of town, they have no idea where to go for dinner, et
Right.
cetera. Yep.
Yeah.
So I hear the WRA sponsoring a number of cards. I hear the idea about the seasonal rentals. Is there any thought of the merchant that where this card is gonna be spent, given any kind of a discount, sponsoring their own? In other words, if it's 25%, if it's $25 on 100, could the restaurant that's getting a $100 card share the cost, like you do with a credit card? They charge you a percentage.
Yeah. So, Jim, I think this is just anecdotal. It's when you talk about public-private partnerships, usually the initial investment is from the public agency, right? We do the infrastructure,
Yep.
things like that, to make it attractive for the private investment or the private investment to be able to come up.
Pick it up
So,
and run.
right, and this is what I think we're sort of going with the direction of, we underwrite this in the beginning to be successful and to get the merchants along the way to see the value in it and then to pick it up from there. I don't see this as being us forever. I do want to make sure any of the places that we're engaging with, many of them have been longstanding businesses in town. I just don't want them getting pissed off and saying 3 months, I've got somebody with this card and they're saying, I'm not doing that anymore. It was a pain in the neck. I just don't want us to have that sort of egg on our faces because we are the face of this when it comes down. We're sponsoring this.
I think that the tap to pay launch was something that was especially attractive to me when I started talking with Yifty, because before that they would have had to show the card on their phone or a printout, and then the person actually on their POS system has to type in the however many 15, 16, 17, 18 digits.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. We have to do that for our shellfish and some of our sales for the onset parking program. Nightmare when you take it.
So I could see if we were launching with the idea of that's how we would do the approach, then it would be a lot less attractive, because that's the situation where I see, like someone that being, no, I don't have the time to take care of this or whatever.
And
I'm not
Yifty
dealing
is
with
at that point now where you don't have to do that?
Yifty on May 1st, I'm pretty sure I heard from Tyson, will be able to do tap to pay.
Okay.
Yep. So we're in the final testing stages now, just for full transparency. We have built out the tech, like the card that's on my phone that I just showed you a couple of minutes ago. It can be used to tap to pay as of right now. We're just making sure everything's looking smoothly on the back end before we actually roll it out nationwide on May 1st.
And I think the only hiccup could be that everything has to get run through MasterCard. So any places like, I know Riverside Cafe, for example, they're cash only.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be able to participate,
Oh,
or
same
someone
with
that
Cafe
just can't
Florida.
run MasterCard for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Okay, I mean, outside of being a cash business, MasterCard's pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah.
My Amex gets rejected at a lot of places.
Yeah, I
that
think
they don't want
Amex
to.
is also not so favored.
We've only got about 15 minutes left to finish up other business on the agenda, so I'd like to ask if we have any final questions for Tyson and Valentina. We very much appreciate your time and your help and working with Connor on this. Anybody have any other final questions before we proceed?
No, very interesting. I appreciate the time and your willingness to take our interesting questions.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having us, and feel free to let us know if you have any other questions that come up down the line.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
good.
Thanks so much.
Nice to meet you, Valentina. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
This has actually been great because I missed breakfast and we're now about to finish up around
And have
11, so I
lunch,
can go
right,
straight to lunch. It's
exactly.
fantastic.
Same comment.
Well, what do you guys, I mean, what does everybody think? Sounds like this might be worth trying.
Did we do a count of how many people, I had forgotten about, some of our businesses only take cash.
Right.
So have you done a count of how many you might be able to get to do this on Main Street?
No, I mean, aside from this list of target businesses, which is pretty broad, then
So
no,
all
we
of
don't
those
have an
target
initial list.
businesses take MasterCard, for instance, will they
No.
take
'Cause I
all
thought-
of those
yeah,
I
lists?
forgot
Okay.
about Riverside Cafe. Cafe Soleil said it's all cash?
Yep.
But Krabby Coffee, shockingly enough, takes cards.
Could an ATM take this card?
Could I?
No.
Could I take my app to an ATM and get cash and go to the cash-only restaurant?
Oh, God,
I
I
don't think
hope
so.
not.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know.
right, that would be not,
That would be awful.
Yeah.
No,
That'd be like handing out cash, yeah.
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 Acceptable at Foxwoods. Yeah, so- but you're right, Joe. I mean, that would be a nice sort of function of it. But
No, because we want the money to be spent.
You want it to be
Yeah.
spent,
Right.
you
Yeah,
don't
one
want
of these
them to,
participating merchants.
you want it to be spent
not on scratchers
on
or
legal
anything.
merchandise.
So how many are on that list?
Uh,
Take the two off that
Well,
need to
bring
come
back
off.
the nips.
Oh, go away.
What do people think about the scale? If we were to
That was a
launch this
successful
in conjunction with
program,
the Oyster Fest,
Yeah.
It worked. Yeah.
It seems to.
there's 100 cards, 50, it's a $150 cards. Ambitious, too ambitious, not ambitious enough? That's
So-
$1,000 that we
So-
underwrite
So
or
take out the
more.
liquor
I
stores.
think there's a couple
They're not on
different
here.
ways for us to handle this as well. There is where we can buy
Take
cards
Barrel Life off.
total. We can buy, you know, for a, we can buy 10 cards for, you know, $1,050 or whatever, if 10, if they're the $100 cards. You know, and we can raffle off, and why I say we can't accept any monies for the raffle, you can just put it out there. Cause if you do a raffle where like a fundraising raffle, that's completely different, you have to go through the Secretary of the State, and we have to license all that
Liquor
crap, but
Junction
the,
Stores
I mean,
Pizza.
stuff. You know, but the,
Street that is.
Judy, I'm gonna yell at you.
I know, we're
you
side
trying to-
talking,
we're- yeah.
we're side talking. We're not allowed to do that. I don't like
So,
people who do that.
You know, so, I made some great points, you guys missed it, so I'll go
Yeah.
back to my gibberish. But what I was saying is we could buy cards fully as well, raffle them off, not as a raffle like we
Oh,
need
yeah.
to,
God save
you know, licensing for, but there's things like that we can do. So we can do 200 cards, and if you buy one, you get entered into the raffle to win a full $50 or $100 card. You know?
That's good. I
But that's a
think-
raffle.
No, that's just, you get entered into a raffle.
But I'm saying you just continue to
accepting
use the
money
word
and stuff,
raffle. You have to have a license.
So you don't.
Giveaway, I guess
For
we could
different
call it.
types. This is, you're not taking money in for that raffle.
You're getting a raffle ticket based off of you buying one of the cards.
Right,
Yeah.
so.
I think you're thinking 50-50.
No, I'm
No,
thinking
it's-
of raffles.
Well,
Not
I
the
trust that
bar.
Derek knows the law.
Well, I know how to go over it.
Yeah, I'm,
Well, how
But we
comfortable
don't
are
even know if
we,
we're doing
so are
that.
we comfortable with the WRA being the
Underwriter.
the underwriter of this? to
the
try to get
starter underwriter, yeah.
Yeah, this makes sense of something that we can underwrite to bring value. And I agree, having read it, you know, I've not read, but going through and listening to it, I understand why it can't be just focused on Main Street. We don't have the scale for that. I prefer it to be, you know, but that's been sort of our mission for the focal point to bring that back. But you know, I think supporting all the businesses. It is tough too. How do we, if other businesses want to participate, why is XYZ company getting a benefit we aren't?
So are you saying that he should ask every business in town?
No, you
Not
can't,
yet.
we're not gonna be able to do that. You target.
So
a
you're
couple.
limiting to
There's
the,
walk, run, fly, so.
right, so you're limiting it to what? you
Yeah, just
named the
try and get
narrowest
some that
restaurants.
will be,
Yeah.
it sounds like they almost said, hey, you sign up with us, then give us the list of the businesses. So we
Mhm.
need to have those businesses chosen and engaged.
That's why,
ahead
yeah,
of
I'd
time.
like to be able to say that we have 12.
Well,
Right.
It's gonna
Whatever.
take it's gonna take shoe leather, somebody
Mhm.
going around to
Well,
all these little
that's-
businesses saying,
That's what young Connor
That's-
is for.
trying to
That's
pitch what
what
we just
salesmen do.
spent 3 meetings trying to learn about, so. It's gotta be somebody that knows how to do that or can't do that.
And also, this is where the nascent Wareham Business Association comes in. That they can help us understand who wants to participate, et cetera, et cetera. We have another meeting coming up at some point, I'm not sure when.
They could
Um,
help. We also just said
But
we'd
he
like to
needs to
have,
do this now to make sure that,
understand.
Right.
yeah.
And the one thing I would say is, because having had to buy tech for a municipality for many years, what a salesman sells us on their capabilities is often not what they can
case.
do. So that tap to pay saying it'll be open on May 1 scares the hell out of me. It better be. Because that often does not
Right.
occur.
right,
The salespeople are there to sell. And then you have the back end engineers that go, holy crap, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's happened, if it's happened once, it's happened 1,000 times, even if they've put it in the contract as one of their capabilities.
okay.
So,
So I think we have general agreement that this is probably a good thing to try for the town.
Mm.
I got a kick out of the fact that Sandwich calls theirs Discover Sandwich, since we have Discover Wareham, our website, run by the WRA, so maybe that's maybe we use that.
I think it existed before ours, just to give you that.
And we
But
were talking earlier about how
to
we
have
might need,
consistent branding, right?
Oh, yeah.
we were talking too about how we might need foot soldiers with projects if we're gonna bring on interns. This is made for a foot soldier going around to all these little businesses saying, we want you to participate in Wareham Discover Dollars or Discover Wareham Dollars.
The
I don't
other
know, do
thing
we
is,
distill this
is it
down to a?
just restaurants?
Oh, no.
No.
No, I've got
like,
barber shops on here.
You could do Bay Point, Little Harbor,
Yes.
things like that.
Yep.
You know, the whatever we have, if sometimes the businesses that open up on Cranberry Highway, that sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not for.
It's a new salon on Cranberry Highway.
A new salon?
Across from Robertson's GMC, there was another one that was actually on the
Oh.
Discover Wareham website as being like a turnkey salon ready to go. So I assume some other lady moved out of there and another one just moved in.
Yeah, I was whipping by the other day and I thought, I think there's something new in that building.
Yeah, it's like next to the dog babysitter.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anywho,
Well, if we want to try to get this up off the ground, we're gonna have to make a decision soon, I would think. Do we want to make a decision today on this?
What I'd like to suggest is that Connor, because he's the one who's most conversant with how to explain this, go to, start at one end of Main Street and go to the other end and knock on doors and see how many people you could sign up to do this.
Mhm.
And then come back and,
And what do
or
we-
use
what
our
do we-
email distribution list that we have of
But-
local business people.
what do
too.
we
but also
authorizing?
being able to explain it, I think is really important, the benefit to the business.
So what are we authorizing Connor to sell? Are we authorizing him to sell a 20% discount, 30% discount,
I'd
100
go for
cards?
100 cards at 20.
Okay,
I mean, I'd be comfortable with that.
okay. Any other thoughts? Connor, that sound okay to you?
Yeah, is that gonna,
Are you the, I guess.
No,
we should
yeah, I
ask
mean, I'm
Ken.
happy
Ken, is that
to
okay with you?
reach out with the businesses. I just think that the spend that you have to identify is a dollar spend, not a percentage. So you can identify this
Yeah,
right,
percentage.
for us?
So we're selling, you don't say you sell X amount of cards at 20%. You spend up to X amount of dollars at 20%.
What do you think you need to make this launch
give us a
successful?
number.
They said they don't see as much success under 50% in the conversation that I had with them, but I think that a 50% bonus is pretty
pretty
generous, yeah.
average.
I think 20% honestly is reasonable and realistic. I think,
So they said their initial launch, 50% is their recommendation.
yeah, that's what they had said.
Okay. Well, particularly because we have a small group.
Right.
I'm guessing we come up with maybe 12 people, 12 businesses that are gonna wanna do this. That's my gut.
So 50%.
That means if I go to Mariachi's with this card for $100, I can get a $200 meal.
One,
Well, you pay $50 for a $100 card.
I pay $50 and get a $100 meal.
No.
If
If
you
you paid
spent on-
$50, you would get a $75 meal.
Yeah,
It'd be
exactly.
50% of the value
Mm.
you invested.
yeah,
Ah, okay, okay.
Not double, yeah.
50% of the value you invested.
Right. So 100, you spend 100, you get 150 in value at 50%.
So it's not 50% off.
No,
It's
it's
50%.
50%, yeah,
bonus, yeah.
50% bonus.
But to Derek's point, maybe it's a little more just because of that 5%
Well,
that
yeah,
they
so-
want on top.
We make it 45%. What do you think, Connor?
I think that in the range of 20% is a little bit more realistic, and then maybe you can make the spend higher. So 20%,
So
I'm not sure what the
20% plus
target
the
was.
5 that Derek was saying, it would be what we would pay.
Mm,
So we're talking then, how much, it's another
Connor, why do you think,
$1,250.
why do you think 20%? Is it just sort of a gut reaction? I'm not saying that meanly, I'm just trying to.
no, yeah, I mean, I think that 50% is just really generous to be able to spend $100 and get half the value of the card back.
Yeah.
Seems like less of a promo and more of like,
A giveaway.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd rather not be in the giveaway business, I don't think.
Well, I think our downtown needs a lot of help, and I
That's
think
fair, too.
That is a good point.
I think that the level of effort we put into it is gonna be a return.
So these are catalyst cards,
Yeah,
you know, when it comes down to
or
it.
we could
Yeah.
target these 10, 8 to 12 businesses, we say, do the initial launch with them.
At 50.
But then maybe that doesn't work so well with the Oyster Festival if we want to have those active for them.
So here,
yeah.
what's our appetite for cost, right? Is it, so that's where we start off. Let's figure out our appetite for cost. Is it $5,000?
No, I'd go with 10, because I think first of all, I don't think you're gonna be able to spend the 10, because I don't think you're gonna have enough businesses signing up, but I think if we give you that as a target, then go for it, get it, but I don't think he's gonna come anywhere close.
So $10,000 at 50% would be your proposal, or
And that would buy us what in the number, I mean, doing the math quickly, what would $10,000 of WRA real money buy in the way of discovered Wareham dollars?
I guess it would depend on how much traction the program gets, right?
And we
Because
don't
the-
want,
No,
we don't
but
want
for
Jim,
the start, on the 50%.
50%, which is technically, because of that 5%,
Right,
it's
exactly.
technically a 45%. We're getting 14, we're giving out 14,500 worth of actual physical value.
Mhm.
okay, and I would think we'd want to prevent the Jim Yakabachis of the world from coming in and buying $4,000 worth of cards, so
Yeah.
we'd want to limit it to one per customer.
Yeah.
Why?
Uh,
Because the realtor on Main Street might like it for his gift baskets when he rents houses,
But we're not, I agree with that, but that would
there
be,
yet.
that would be something
when we expand it.
Yeah.
When we
Right.
expand, we would say,
Okay,
hey,
okay,
Joe or Jane Realtor, we're underwriting this, we'll do a 5% off if you do the 5% off or something like
Okay.
that. This isn't meant for me to say, I'm gonna pocket all of these and I'm gonna use this as a way for me to make money and drive more clients right off the bat by just, cause anybody that comes in gets a car wash or something, you know?
Yeah, that's
Oh, the
kind of
car
what
wash
I'm
on
worried
Main
about.
Street, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Can I
So
see
what
that
should our
list
goal
again?
be, to try to bring 100 new customers to Main Street? 200 new customers to Main Street?
Well, I think if we're doing this for the Oyster Festival, which sounds like there's two things happening. We will have our own residents, but this is supposed to be drawing people from the outside. You know,
Right.
it's
Neighboring communities?
right.
something?
I think it's a time for us to showcase Wareham. And that's really, so our goal should be to get as many of these out there.
Maybe we could sell at the Oyster Fest, but not have them be able to be used yet, so it kind of incentivizes people to come back afterwards.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
I only see 10 on this list that you gave us, I only see 10 that are actually on Main Street.
Mm.
The rest of them are not.
Which we talked about, we
Yes,
understand that.
Right.
This is
You
not
know-
an end-all be-all.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is that we're not looking at 32 businesses, we're looking at 10.
I don't see a problem with people buying one of these cards in Bessie Park and then going to Onset and getting an ice cream cone or whatever. Or in June, selling these at something in Onset at one of their events and having people come over to.
Yeah, but I
Right,
think we
but
need
is-
to focus. I think it needs to be a pilot program first.
For Main Street.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So
I agree.
we'll do more later. If this is what the success we hope and think it will be.
Yeah.
But I think for the purposes of the Oyster Fest, which is right around the corner, we should focus on Main Street
I agree.
and see how many, if we can get enough critical mass. Main Street, and we gotta call it, like the Narrows District has total resonance, but Church Street, 40 Church Street, there's a great new business, IV Wellness and Health. Katie and I
Can't
think
remember
it's
her name.
Naomi,
Heather.
Heather. And Katie's husband, who's a Cracker Jack, who set up a Facebook page already for the Wareham Business Association. Anyways, yeah, they're part of the Wareham Business Association, and Katie's the secretary. So, some ways we need to figure out how to extend beyond Main Street. So, I guess focus on Main Street at the outset, see how much critical mass you can get, and then maybe go to a little
Yeah.
bit further out.
Sure. Yeah. Or, I mean, you could target Wareham Village at first.
Mm.
Like go reach out to the businesses on Main Street, but on paper, Wareham Village would be where the pilot program launches.
I want it Main Street. This is, the whole point of this is Main Street, in my opinion.
Right, agreed, but
I
we may
agree.
not be able to get critical mass.
Well,
If
let's
you could
see,
get
I
all of
guess.
these
If you
10.
can't get critical mass, then don't do it, then it's a
Yeah,
bad idea.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Look at Ocean Spray. Ocean Spray created their own problem. They did such a great job of marketing that all their co-op members went out and opened up their own businesses and competed with them.
I just don't think we should kill the baby yet. I
Well-
think we need to give the baby a chance to
But,
fly.
but diaper the baby, pamper the baby, but don't send the baby to New Bedford. You want the baby in Wareham Village.
No,
The
yes
idea of
and
having an
no.
oyster festival, you're having a festival to bring people into Wareham so that they discover what's available in Wareham.
Village.
Now you're gonna send them sell them a card so they can go spend it at the mall.
No, that's not
Or
what
they
we're
can go
doing.
spend it in Onset. You're bringing people, the idea of having a festival in the downtown area is to draw people to the downtown area and expose them to the businesses. They need to know that there's a tattoo shop, a place to get a meal, and, a place to buy a bottle of booze.
Bait
What else
shop.
is there in Wareham?
Well, you can buy booze
What do you, I
and
mean, you
weed.
gotta, you're
Among other
you're
things.
trying to draw people to Wareham Village. Don't sell them tickets to go to Onset and New Bedford and
Okay, I
Plymouth.
beg
That's
to
my,
differ.
that's my,
We're
that's,
coming up on the hour. I do beg to differ, sir. I think our focus is the village in the beginning, but in the end, it is all Wareham businesses, not just the village.
then,
But for our
then-
kickoff,
then-
we,
Yep.
Be
yep, for the
upfront about it.
kickoff,
We have Cranberry Highway businesses that struggle.
Yep.
Could use the help.
But for the pilot, let us focus on village businesses. Absolutely.
So we have to give Ken and Connor, a green light here, a
Mhm.
go-ahead. I think part of it is, do we favor trying to launch Discover Wareham Dollars, or what do we ultimately call it, under Wareham Redevelopment Authority sponsorship? Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
No price check yet, no price tag yet.
Second.
A second, okay.
So Dan, just, I'm sorry, the motion is?
To agree to be the sponsor.
Okay.
To launch
Yeah.
Discover Wareham dollars.
Can I interrupt just during your discussion?
Yes.
If the goal of this program is to eventually get it out of WRA hands, do you wanna name it in such a way that's so tied to Discover Wareham?
Wait, if that's,
Like,
to me, I think it's a smart branding because is our branding Discover Wareham, like, look how cool we are, so Discover Wareham dollars?
well, I'm thinking maybe if you're gonna try to tie this to maybe the business association, maybe they could have some input on
think they could-
what makes sense.
They could
Yeah.
piggyback off that brand or some, put their own
Yeah,
little
they put the
WBA
ball
thing
up.
on there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just giving the thought, I didn't wanna
that's a
tie
good
it so
idea.
much, and I know Discover Wareham, while it is part of the WRA, I didn't wanna tie it so much to you guys that you're almost maybe giving away the brand idea. Cause eventually I think that's what the goal of this is to get it out of your hands.
Yes.
And we
Then
do
we'll
wanna
move it to
leverage
Rediscover
the
Wareham.
Discover Wareham,
Yeah,
which is very successful.
Just a thought,
Mhm.
I do agree with the idea.
What are some
Okay, so
slang
we have a
words for
motion
dollars?
to agree to underwrite this and try to help launch it for the town of Wareham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Now we need to tell Ken and Connor what they have to work with in terms of a budget, so I think we need to commit. If we're gonna underwrite it, what are we comfortable?
Yeah, what, so
Putting up-
what's the value of dollars? I think 10K is a lot of money, but I don't think we go half, let me just, we don't just dip our toe in the water.
Either go for it or we don't.
Right.
No.
You wanna dive head first?
Dive head first, there might be some rocks under there, you know, but,
Yeah.
you know, we're just, you know, trying to, again, I consider these catalysts more than anything.
In worst case, you can get the money that you allocated for the promotion reimbursed, so there's not so much loss there.
So do I hear a motion to underwrite up to $10,000 worth of WRA funding to provide Connor and Ken the wherewithal to launch
Let's-
this program?
We would allocate $10,000 towards this program. So we're gonna need another vote after that though, but.
Okay, so I hear motion 10K from Derek Sullivan. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Judy, second.
Judith said
Yeah.
second?
Yes.
Ms. Whiteside seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Ken, WRA
No,
just gave
now
you
we've
there's
got,
one more.
a
now,
blank check up to $10,000.
But we have to do something else.
yeah, now, how are we doing this? How many cards and what's the percentage off?
I like
I
the
think
50
that's-
because if we're gonna do it, it has to be an enticement to actually do it.
Yep.
20% is too cheap. 50, you might actually entice people to do it and then it spreads. Don't cheap it because it will fail.
So since Connor and I are probably gonna be the guys sitting at the table under the tent at the festival trying to sell these things, a $50 Discover Wareham dollar card with a QR code on it,
Well, you sell these before the festival. You're gonna be out there knocking
we'd
on
be
doors.
getting $25. Is that right?
Or I was thinking you might not even need to man a tent and offer to sell the dollars there if you just get a few A-frames printed out. Maybe 3 or 4, like A-frame signs.
An
Yeah,
easel,
I think you should have those.
yeah.
You're gonna need some level of human
Yeah, you
engagement.
have to
Yeah.
explain it.
Because if I look at the, that's kinda cool, but I don't know if, you know, Shecky, the dealers, will just put it out there to take my dollars.
With
you
my
know?
Venmo.
Yeah, so.
Or the fact that someone might buy it and then have no clue how to access it.
Yeah,
You might
that's
want a
fair.
tent out there just so someone can
Like
go, hey,
somebody
I
my
bought this,
age
how do I
who's gonna buy it.
use it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would be suspicious until I saw someone like Jim out there to give me, you know, then I'd feel good about it.
So your question then, Derek, is how comfortable are we
Right,
in underwriting individual cards up to 20, 30, 50% perhaps.
Right. So,
We do the
and,
45 and, yeah.
you know,
45 plus 5.
the one thing we run into is, I agree, like a 50% bonus is much better.
Mhm.
So I make sure that people believe in it. You know what I mean? Just say, well, this is too good to be true or something. So again, that's where the people come in. And that's, I just need to figure out my own end, if we're selling 100 $50 tickets, right? That's 7,500, a little bit more with that 5% cost. That gets you probably in the $8,000
Right.
range of costs.
Right.
Do we want to do it as in $50 bites? Because $50 bites, if I pay $50, I'm now getting a 50% bonus. That means it's a $75 valuation.
And you can do that, you can, so this is something that I asked them before with the promo, so you saw like for the Discover Wareham,
Right.
Discover Sandwich, they had 5, 10, 20, 25, 100, 200, so you can actually restrict that where people wouldn't be able to buy $100 or $200 cards with the promo.
Okay, yeah, and I think we kind of want to cap it off, but we also, I don't want people buying $5 cards here and there, because you want to be able to, that when they're going in, they're spending some money at the restaurant.
So they
or
buy
something.
$50
Right.
cards. I'd be comfortable with $50 that gets me the 75.
So are you selling $50 cards or are you selling $75 cards for $50?
We're selling $75 cards for $50.
That's what you should be selling. Don't sell percentages. People can't do that math. It's
No.
too hard. It's the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, that makes sense. So,
If my math is right on that, I think you would sell 400 cards.
for $10,000.
Yeah, because when I did the math at 100 cards, it was 200, so.
Okay, so
That's
$450
two.
cards.
So do you think
That's too
that you
many
have
cards.
you have 400 people buying cards? I
No,
don't.
it's not gonna work, so
So then maybe
no more than
That's
200.
400, how many,
cards.
of what type of, what?
that's
well,
at
At $50.
$50 maximum.
Is that
One
25
card per person.
We'd be spending 25 for the $50 card.
Right, so
Mhm.
I would go with
So you
400
want-
is two
So
times too many.
$100 maximum gives someone $50 bonus value,
Right.
and you sell 200 cards.
So,
But-
so why is 400 too many? Because we're starting the sale at at Bessie Park, right, at the Oyster Festival. We don't need to sell every single one there. That's the kickoff. And then you have the availability to go through our website or something linking on there. And somebody says, I got this great deal in Wareham. You should go to their website and buy one. Why is 400 too many?
Because 400 people at the festival are not gonna buy them. I think
I don't
But
care
that's
if
exactly
they,
what he just addressed.
we're not just, the festival's the kickoff.
why? Why
Because that's
isn't-
when we have captured, all these people captured there. That's the kickoff, that's the, as we said, force multiplier. We're gonna get it out to as many people, people are going to initially try it. I'm gonna be suspicious, Derek, and say, I wouldn't touch that. My Ken's gonna be, Happy Ken is going to go in there and buy it and say, I don't know, you fool. I had a great dinner with my wife.
On the other hand, if we have El Mariachi selling them already because they buy into the program, they bring more people to the festival and therefore sell more tickets.
Are we having the vendors sell them there? They're
Because
not
this is-
physically selling,
No.
people are
think
just
that would
going to a
overcomplicate
website.
it.
Yeah, that would overcomplicate it, because this is our money.
I think,
But, well,
yeah,
in the future, a vendor could sponsor one of these events where they throw in 10 grand and
yeah, absolutely.
provide the kicker themselves.
I think that would be the hope too.
Right.
There is, and I think we do work with some of the businesses in the town. We do go to South Coast and say, hey, we've done this in the past, it's been really successful. Is this something you
Yeah.
want for your employees?
Then whoever's in charge there could just go online and purchase them in bulk.
Right,
So-
and then we step out and it becomes
Right.
Yeah.
self-funding.
But back to the main question, Derek believes 400 cards is not too much. Judy believes it is too many.
What if you did a sale of 2 cards per one person? limit the amount a person could buy to 2 cards. Cause I could see people coming into Wareham buying a card and then saying, man, I had such a great time. I'm gonna buy a card as a Christmas present for someone.
Okay, I like that.
And then you're giving the gift of going to Wareham to someone.
That's a
So
really
what
good
does that do
point.
for our math in terms
It
of
just,
the money available and the?
with the
card?
same number, you're just relying that 200 people are buying
Right.
2 cards.
So
So the
you're
400 isn't too
authorized-
many.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I was just saying. Are you talking about buying 100, are you saying, are we doing $50 cards and $100 cards, or is it just $100 cards?
I would buy, myself personally, I will buy a $50 card. I will not buy a $100 card. But I might buy 2 50s because I'm gonna give one of them away.
I think you can do up to $100, like it doesn't have to be restricted to,
Then the math
could
gets
someone-
messy.
Yeah,
I
could
like
someone
the-
come
wanna
you're
have
still
a
giving out the same
denomination.
amount of money.
Yeah, I
You
like
wanna
that.
have either 50s or 100s.
Yeah, I like the idea of the 50, just because, again, we want people to spend 30% more.
Right,
Right.
If I gave them a $100 card, I might, my wife and I would probably spend less than $100.
exactly. So
Yeah.
the $50 actually gets you to a meal
And then some.
and then a
That's
little bit, so that, but the 100, you'd have to have a party of 4.
Yeah, I'd keep
Or-
it
Which
to
is-
50.
Or you come back for 2 meals.
No, because then the math becomes, well,
And don't forget, this is on your phone. It's, you go to the restaurant, you forget about it, and
it's not on your phone.
Yeah, it is though.
Yeah.
yeah, it
I
is.
know.
But you know, my initial thought on this was when I go to a fair with my kids, they're selling the fair ticket
Mhm.
and you can only spend it in the fair,
Mhm.
right? And then I think Gifty has solved that problem by saying it's on your phone. Because I know all those fair cards that I have, they end up in my sock drawer. I go to the fair again and I completely forgot that I had the money. But with it on your phone, someone might be just driving through Wareham one day going, oh, I have $25 on my phone to, you know, one of these restaurants, I'll stop.
Okay, so I did text Lorna while we were talking, and her vendors do not use Yifty. So-
That doesn't matter.
No, I
Because
know that doesn't matter, but
Okay.
I just want that out there. So you would be selling on behalf of the merchants of
Wareham.
Wareham.
This is the Wareham Redevelopment
exactly.
Authority
Right,
selling something.
right.
And I'm glad to hear the vendors will not be in competition for our dollars,
Exactly.
taking away from our merchants.
Exactly.
So,
And you keep calling it a $50 card, you need to change your vernacular. It's a $75 card for $50.
Yeah, good point.
If you're gonna be a salesman, you know,
Yeah.
people sell houses for $39,900, not $40,000.
Mhm.
Also, we're
So,
talking about
can I
the-
see that house, please? I would like to buy it.
It's right next door, the town just paid $550 for it.
so to use Josh's example, if we wanted to sell up to $475 cards, we would be paying $50 of that, right? Or $25 of it, I'm sorry.
Right, $25.
And that would exhaust our $10,000 investment. That would take all $10,000.
Okay.
So what denominations are you talking, the hundreds?
So a $50 gift card, well,
75.
$75 gift
$75.
card,
Mhm.
that actually is $25 or, no. Yeah, $50 of it is our money. No, $25 of it is our money.
25 is your money, 50
50 is the buyer's money. So they give the DECA student at the booth
Yeah.
$50 and they get a $75 card.
But also to Derek's point, at the time of purchase, from what I understand, that's when they hit you for the 5%
Right,
to Yifty.
Mhm.
right.
So really should the
So it's gonna be
WRA
less than that.
contribution be
55.
55%, but you're still,
Yeah, to keep the math.
Yeah,
simple so
yeah,
that-
Math, right. You
Keep
have
the
to
math
back into
And
math.
then the
math.
purchaser is still getting hit with $1. So as the purchaser, you get $1, you're paying the extra $1 to use the card. Cause
use
it's
the
$1
card.
plus 5%.
To get the card.
But,
For each
but the
transaction.
WRA
Wait,
is
is it-
covering that money.
No,
It's
I didn't-
$1 plus 5%.
Oh my God.
is it to buy the card or
I
to
don't,
use the
yeah,
card?
I don't
Ah.
want the person to pay 1 penny. It's like,
Right.
you know, it just,
Connor, do you know
for
that answer?
it would piss me off,
Is
and
it-
I'm sorry to use that term.
No, you're right.
Is it 5% to purchase the card, or is it 5% every time you use the card that you have to?
Or is it the
It's
$1
at
every
the
time
time
you
of
re-up?
purchase
At the time of purchase of the
gift card,
card,
it's
okay.
$1 plus 5%.
Okay,
the
but
value.
when
Also,
your
there's a
card
dollar
runs
included
out,
Hmm Then you buy a new card for another
or
dollar
another dollar and
and
then the
5% of the value of that.
Okay, okay.
But as the sponsor, you can also, they have it figured out that if you say, okay, I wanna sponsor that to the tune of the $1 and 5% plus 50%, then they can definitely work that out.
They can do that math.
Yeah, we don't need to,
56%.
yeah, we don't need to deliberate on it.
Just because you've all kind of settled on a $75 card for $50, I did hear him say these cards have an expiration date. So if you sold a $125 card for $75 or whatever the math is, would somebody coming through Wareham take their $125 card, spend $80 on a meal and forget the balance, and when the card expires, the money comes back to you?
You will, there's absolutely.
Is there merit in
Yeah.
being a little bit scammy about it and selling the card that they might not use at all?
Sell a higher price
Just
card.
throwing it out there for consideration.
Well, I don't know how scammy that is. I mean,
You
that's
throw them
universal.
in your sock drawer.
Gift cards
Yeah.
expire.
Yeah,
That's
but
just
this
the
is
deal.
also on your phone.
Mm.
It's not, you're not
Okay.
gonna forget about it.
Just throwing it
Yeah.
out there.
I think the $75 one is, again, it's the price point. I'm not
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
rather, now that I hear there's a $1 fee per
plus,
card,
yeah, which is 6
I
cents.
prefer the higher amount of card because that annoys me
Yeah.
it's just,
It annoys me
So if we
too.
did
you know,
400
now
cards,
now it's actually a 7.02% fee,
Yeah, it's,
you know?
so to
Yeah.
keep it simple, 400 cards would cost us $10,000 if we did the 50%. The extra 5% would be another $800, and then $1 per card is 400, it would be $11,200 that we would have to be prepared to underwrite.
And you're saying Yiffity can take the dollar and the 5%
Yeah, how
out
they
of.
framed it to me was, so you have a sponsor that wants to come and sponsor your community dollars program.
Yeah.
Now, either the sponsor can choose, yes, I want to sponsor to the tune of 20, 30, 40%, or I want to sponsor to the tune of completely waiving the fee for the purchaser, which I'm sure you could do both.
And can we negotiate our fees with them?
Good question, I'm not sure.
I would say
no.
I would say waive the $1 damn fee off of it and keep a percentage on there.
Oh, that's a good
I
question.
bet you'd get it.
Yeah, for the kickoff at this level, so.
So who's gonna go back to Yifty and say those words?
He is.
Who's he? Oh, him?
He being
That
Connor.
guy?
Okay,
He brought it to the table.
so
He
Connor's
gets to
gonna,
keep serving.
so maybe what we ought to
Gives them
do is
that cold
authorize.
stare.
So do you wanna go to the 11,000, what did you say, 11,000?
Yeah, if we authorize Connor and Ken $11,200, they can launch this and get 400 cards out there. $75 cards.
I like
If
that.
he gets a little, if he
Yeah.
bargains with them and they agree to waive the 800 and the 400, then it's only $10,000 for us. But we would hope
Then,
you can get a
okay,
bargain,
so,
if not,
yeah.
we have to be prepared to eat 11,200, are we prepared to do that?
Yes,
Do I hear a motion?
yes.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? Judith?
So that Derek, who is the cheapest in the
Do I
room,
hear any?
doesn't have to make that motion.
So we have a motion on the floor that the WRA will allocate up to $11,200 to launch Discover Wareham Dollars, or whatever we end up calling it. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Connie, you're a good salesman. You have $11,200 to work with to get this thing launched. Do you think you can launch it by Oyster
Gotta be
Fest?
better than-
I think that's realistic, yeah.
Okay,
it's gotta-
great.
it's gotta
go get it.
be
Let's do it.
brands.
And we'll just need to make sure we have a contract with them, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so I think we want the businesses to buy in first, then we say, okay, we're prepared to go to EFD with the contract. I'll reach out and see if we can negotiate out the $1 fee, and then after that, I'm not sure who exactly, maybe Dan as chair of the WRA would have to be the person that signs the contract.
I'll do that.
But
ready
yeah,
for that.
then after we have pen to paper, the rep said we should have a week or so and then be able to launch.
Good, and I just wanna make sure that tap to pay will be available when they launch.
Yeah, that'd be good.
You know,
Right.
and and just in the pitch to the businesses, it should be about getting the people driving them to their businesses. We let them know that we're underwriting a certain percentage at the beginning, but I think the main thing is, it's not gonna cost you anything if you have these capabilities already. It's right on there. I just don't want them getting confused and ever thinking that they have to put $1 into
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And I think that was the
And you're
main.
gonna drive 400 people into the Wareham Village.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the Narrows
That's a
district.
number that you use, that's a number you use.
Okay.
Thank you, Derek, very much. Actually, we've accomplished a lot today, I think.
I'm glad I could spread my perfume, as you said.
In the interest of time, since we're already over, I'd like to defer the dumpster consolidation discussion. Is it okay if we defer the open space committee report
Yes.
discussion?
That's been sent back to the table.
Okay. And then discussion of possible vote on regular WRA meeting times. Do you want to discuss that today, or can we save that for 2 weeks?
Let's save it for 2 weeks from now.
Okay, so we'll do that in 2 weeks.
And no, you cannot approve these minutes because they do not comply with the open meeting law, that you have not listed the documents that we used in the meeting.
Oh, on the
On
minutes?
them. Yep, you have to do that on the minutes.
Minutes of the March 20 meeting.
Oh, that has to be listed?
Yes,
The documents must be listed.
that's part of the open meeting law.
The minutes have to be listed?
No,
The
the
documents.
documents you used,
Which
if you
ones?
look at
Which ones
all
did we use?
documents that you used in that meeting have to be listed.
Which ones did we use?
Well, look at the minutes, you used the, you talked about,
Downtown
downtown dollars. You talked about, the intern program, you talked about,
Well, I don't think we had any
DWR.
document for that, though.
you had a presentation.
You just have to list
You
them.
have to
You don't have
list
to connect
the-
them.
Yeah, you
But
have
you
to
do need
list
to
them.
say, these are the documents that were used
All right,
for
we'll
the
wait.
our
It's been
discussion.
done every time you've seen the minutes, Mr.
Let me take another
Butler.
look. Let me
Yeah,
take another
it's-
look and see
I'll
what
help you,
documents
because-
we were waving around at
Right.
that meeting. Okay, so we'll defer that.
Defer those, please.
Yeah.
Report from the Director of Planning, Ken. Anything else today?
That I've signed a contract to extend Connor's time, which is lucky that since we're putting all this work on him.
Order extended, okay. Through what, the summer?
Through
Was that
July.
was that an expansion?
Through the
Man, you are
summer,
quick.
yay.
You were really quick, I
You
gotta
said
tell you.
July 1st or July
Okay,
3rd?
Connor
End of July,
extended.
so it would be July
Okay, good,
31st.
thank you.
How, to when? Through the summer?
End of
No.
July,
July
July.
31st.
July
I think,
31st.
or was it end of June?
End of July.
Okay.
Okay, all right, great, that's good news. Anything else, Ken?
No,
Okay,
MTA, move to adjourn. I have places that I should have been an
Did you
hour
guys
ago.
skip 2 or 3 things on
Yeah, we
your
did.
so
agenda?
we're gonna skip
We did.
member comments.
Yeah, we're skipping a lot.
We're skipping a lot.
Nothing critical on correspondence. I did email correspondence to everybody to be
Right.
ready to talk to at the next meeting. And I hear
You
a
just
motion
did.
to adjourn from
Second.
Judith Whiteside. Sarah Corbett seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned at
11:25.
11:25. Thank you.
So do you want to see something cool that is going to be sold at the Oyster Fest?
What?
Downtown Gold.